Everybody, and welcome in to the Ignition Zone, the ultimate pre-race experience for the Collegiate iRacing League that's about to ignite your passion for speed, power, and adrenaline-fueled action. We're here to relive the pulse-pounding moments from last week at Kentucky, and then preview the action that we're about to get here tonight with the dogleg itself, Phoenix Raceway. I will be one half of the voices in the booth tonight, Alex Gagnon. Alongside me, for the first time, the two of us here, Keith Brubaker.
Evening, everyone. I'm hoping this is going to be as entertaining as, well, Bristol, but last week was a little rough, but hopefully it's an entertaining race, and I'm excited to be here.
I honestly had a good time with it. It was a bit of a different look than some of the previous races we've had in the CIL so far. A very long green flag run to end the race last week at Kentucky. And then ultimately it came down to who could save tires the best. Logan Clampitt got the job done over Matt Morton and Andrew Williams, but it really came down to who played the pit strategy best.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, there was an early crash, but after that it was basically smooth sailing, and it came down to good strategy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something we haven't really seen too much of yet. From the CIL so far. It's been a lot of late race action, a lot of late race restarts so far to this point in the season. So Kentucky definitely flipped the script on that one. Curious to see what Phoenix has in mind for us here tonight. I mean, we've been there a number of times over the past few years, the CIL has, and we've had some wildly different races, some last lap passes. We've had some just green flags almost the entire run. It's going to be really interesting to see how it shapes up tonight. I mean, a couple of previous winners in the field. I know Clint Halterman won over the summer. Muhammad Alif has won here twice for Ball State. So a couple of heavy hitters who are still looking for their first win could find it at a place they've had success previously.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, look, we got some news from Drew, our director, and he was just saying that this is, again, going to be a very heavy fuel and tire strategy tonight. And I think they got a little bit of practice last week with those long green stints. So who knows, that might play in tonight.
It certainly might. And speaking of the way things have been shaping up so far, let's take a quick look at how the points are sitting so far through 5 races. We are past the midway point of the regular season. And on the students' side, it is Chattahoochee Tech's Drew Jawad leading the way. Only by a slim margin, though, over Drew Williams of Clemson, Clint Halterman of UNC Charlotte, and then back to Duncan O'Connor from Nova Scotia Community College and Matthew Morton from Ohio State. So a couple of students who are still looking for wins in that top 5 in points, who are definitely hungry. And then on the alumni side, we've got a really tight battle for the lead right now between Tim Moore of Manhattanville College, who won Daytona, and then last year's alumni champion Colin Culpa from Indiana. So certainly a lot of points to be gained or lost throughout the standings right now. I mean, even through 5 races, it's still really bunched up toward the top.
Yeah, and this league being the fact that we do have the 2 splits, you want to continue to drive, even if you get second place in the race and, alum is leading, you still can get that full 25 points, to win as a student. So you always want to be continuing to fight for positions. And like you were saying, it is such a close battle. And I mean, the top in the alum right now is by 2, and the top for students is by 4 points. And even behind there, Clint is only 8 points behind. So any points really matter in this point, and we're only 5 races in.
Yeah, and with only a handful of races to go and Logan Clampitt becoming the first repeat winner of the season last week, we know multiple drivers will point their way into the College Cup Series playoff. So that makes the points that much more critical with each passing repeat winner.
Yeah, indeed. And, winning may not be entirely the game here. Yes, winning does guarantee you a slot into the playoff, and it does get you a nice point haul. But if you can just survive and just keep getting points, it adds up, and it just keeps adding up. And who knows, you might become, the first position going into playoffs.
Yeah, you certainly could. Anything could happen. But while we have a few minutes here before the start of our race here tonight from Phoenix Raceway, we're going to talk to our special guest for the evening. This person is the director of esports at Robert Morris University, my alumnus, as a matter of fact. It is CJ Buckeye. CJ, welcome to the Ignition Zone. How are you doing tonight?
Not gonna lie, that scared me to death. I was not expecting the pull in. I'm just scrolling on Twitter, just waiting for the call, and I didn't even get so much as a "Hey, we're gonna pull you in now." I was expecting something, Alex. I was waiting.
I sent you a message a couple minutes ago saying we're about to pull you in, but I guess it didn't. No, it
came through. I saw it. It just was not scared me. I wasn't paying attention. I'm doing okay though. Other than that, I'm doing all right.
Other than the almost heart attack, that's usually not a great sign to start an interview. But here we are now. And as far as the RMU iRacing program, I mean, you were. Were you assistant coach or head coach at the time when that program started?
I want to say I was transitioning to head coach, but the prior head coach was still here, so we were kind of tag teaming it a little bit. So I was either assistant coach becoming head coach, or I was still considered assistant coach for that time, because it was over the summer when we started the whole process of purchasing the equipment, making sure that we were ready to go. And I want to say I was probably assistant coach, but I think that year is when I transitioned into head coach.
Gotcha. And to that point that you mentioned, what was it like starting an iRacing program kind of off the ground at RMU, especially over the summer where people really weren't like present on campus? How did that process kind of come together on your end?
Well, it was a lot of reaching out to the people who said they were interested and kind of starting from there. The benefit to iRacing is that the majority of the people who are interested in it have the equipment to begin with. So really all we have to do is kind of supplement for the people that are interested. And we're not usually going to buy super high-end stuff for them because they're just learning. And if we're being honest, iRacing is a difficult game to really buy into, both mentally and financially. But you don't have to go high-end stuff. I mean, we're still using what we purchased 2 years ago. Just the Logitech G920s, I think, the G920s.
Yeah, I want to say
that's a great wheel.
Right. There's two versions that are really close to each other. It's the 920 and is it the 929? One is blue, one is silver.
Yeah, one's like PlayStation compatible, one's like Xbox compatible.
Oh, okay. So we have 3 of those, and 3 sets of pedals there too. Just in case people are interested and maybe don't have their own setup, or they just want to try it out before they kind of fully invest into something. But it doesn't have to be terribly expensive, especially once the program purchases the peripherals. Other than that, it's just kind of, okay, well, it's going to cost X amount of dollars per driver, and then kind of allocating that money however we need to. And in a world of collegiate esports where the majority of your costs are going towards, I guess yearly costs are going towards league fees and various different, recruiting tools, allocating the few $100s to get a couple racers onboarded into iRacing really isn't that big of a deal, at least to a more put together program. I would assume more of the club funds are probably not there. But your club sports, your athletics programs, the kind of the varsity programs, being able to allocate the money to that really shouldn't be that big of a deal. It just takes a little bit of planning, which thankfully we had a few people who were really interested in doing it. So there was a lot of student drive to make it happen. And then it was just kind of the program saying, okay, well, we have a little bit of money left over. Let's buy an extra wheel and pedal set. And we accumulated more peripherals as we went. We didn't buy all 3 sets all at once. We bought one during the summer just to make sure we had a set just in case someone didn't have them. And then whenever Amazon has sale again, we bought 1 or 2 more. And that's just how we kind of accumulated the peripherals over the time. But that was really the hardest part, was making sure that we had everything that we needed. But thankfully we had the student engagement and they were pretty excited to do something along these lines. So they did a lot of the research for us and we just kind of trusted their judgment.
So I guess along the lines of that, you said there's a lot of student engagement. Like, where do you see both, collegiate esports on top of, professional esports going? Since, Alex was telling me a little bit before, you've been in this, this realm for a very long time.
Yeah, I've been involved in RMU esports since 2016. I was one of the co-founders, me alongside 4 of my friends from high school, all Shaler alumni, so local to the Pittsburgh area. We came in, started an Overwatch club that eventually morphed into RMU esports, and they've all since graduated, and they come back and help in an alumni role. But I've been kind of in the scene in a leadership position since that point, since all the way back in 2016, and we've seen the evolution And where the pro scene seems to have failed a little bit, the collegiate scene, and more importantly, the K-12 scene has really started to pick up. And I think that we really tried to put the cart ahead of the horse when it comes to esports kind of development. There was a whole lot of professional buy-in from people who had a lot of money, and those people aren't seeing a return on investment, so they're kind of leaving the space. But in the collegiate area, we're seeing, okay, this is a retention opportunity as well as a recruitment opportunity. And when you have smaller universities like RMU, for instance, or Fisher College, Northwood, the smaller universities that aren't, and when I say smaller, I don't mean, community colleges, but they are also involved as well. I'm referring to not Ohio State University, not Michigan, not Alabama, the big football D1 NCAA schools. It's the schools that maybe have the funding to support something on a smaller scale. And that's where we're seeing esports thrive. And how this is going to continue to grow is enhancing that support at the K-12 level. And we're starting to see publishers do that as well. Riot Games, for instance, with Valorant and League of Legends, they are kind of helping institute leagues down in the K-12 area. Other publishers as well. I'm just highlighting Riot for the sake of, I dealt with a lot of Valorant today, so it's on my mind. But the K-12 scene is going to support the collegiate scene, which is going to support the pro scene. Granted, the pro that high school and collegiate esports is going to continue growing. There's no limiting factor on this. More universities are buying in every single week. More high schools are buying in. It is the college's duty in the area, in my opinion, to help grow high school esports in your area. We being RMU are constantly reaching out to high school programs, helping them set things up, getting them involved with the local state leagues, getting them involved with national leagues, and starting to build up the pipeline for us. And that's only going to help the professional scene. So for collegiate and the pro scene, it's going to have to be, one has to succeed in order for the other to succeed, and then eventually they can both kind of push themselves forward. Gotcha. In my opinion.
Well, I think that was a really in-depth answer, and I thoroughly appreciate that. If people were interested in learning more about your program there at RMU, what kind of steps would they need to take, and what kind of incentives would there be to being a part of a program like the one there at RMU?
You're referring to like high school seniors and recruits, right?
Yes.
So the first step would probably be to go to our club sports website. If you just type in RMU Club Sports, we'll be there. There's an esports tab in there. We are working on getting it more updated as we go. That is one thing that all esports programs have difficulty doing, especially if you don't have any full-time staff. I myself am the first full-time staff member for RMU. We've been part-time and student worker and volunteer driven up until this point. So we are kind of catching up to where we know we should be. But going to the club sports website, and there's a recruitment link in there. It's interested in club sports or something like that in the About Us section. You can go there. That would be a recruitment link. It's free. It just gives us your information so that we can contact you. But if you're interested in just kind of following what we have and seeing how we perform throughout the year, our Twitter account is hysterical. Alex, I don't know if you've seen some of the lost pictures that we've been putting up. But John Locke, the director of, I think he's retention now, the director of retention and student involvement, has absolutely loved our Twitter posts recently. We've been kind of going with the G2 mindset, so a lot of memery, but also keeping it fairly professional. The Twitter handle on that is RMUPA Esports, all one word. If you just type in RMU Esports, we're the black and red logo. It's actually going to change, so if you're watching this later, we're changing to a Halloween logo soon. But the RMUPA one is there. My contact info is there if you wanted to reach out to me directly. But that, if you're a high school senior interested in being recruited or talking to us about RMU and what things we offer, that would be the first step, is going to the club sports website, getting the recruit me link. If you don't want to go that far, it's just rmu.edu/recruit me, all one word at the end. So that's how you'd get in touch, at least.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for dropping by the Ignition Zone there, CJ. And good luck to not only the RMU iRacing guys for the rest of the year, but also all of RMU esports as a whole.
Appreciate it, Alex. Miss you, man.
Miss you too, bud. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you guys later. Thank you.
See ya. Alrighty, and with that, that is going to conclude the Ignition Zone here for this race. We are just about ready to get going for the Avondale 150 from Phoenix Raceway. We will be right back after a short break, so don't go anywhere. Alrighty, here we go. Just about time now for the Avondale 150 from Phoenix Raceway. Race 6 of the regular season here for the College Cup Series. I almost said 5, but no, we are already on the 6th race of the season here, Keith. We are cruising right along through the schedule. We are getting ever so closer to that playoff cut line. And I tell you what, I think we're in for a fun one tonight. Phoenix has been one of the staples here in the CIL. This is the 6th time we have run a CIL College Cup Series race here at Phoenix Raceway. We've had 4 different winners from 3 different universities. The repeat winner, I believe, is in the field here tonight. It is our Muhammad Ali from Ball State. Has not won here since the spring of 2023, but he got it done both fall 22 and spring 23, so he could be one to watch here tonight.
Yeah, he could indeed. I mean, you never know. Anybody can win, Just got to keep chugging, get good qualifying lap.
Absolutely. So you can see here from the Skycam what Phoenix Raceway looks like. And after the reconfiguration a few years ago, this track looks very different than the way it was initially designed. The front stretch is actually in the middle of that right-hander toward the bottom of your screen there with the big O'Reilly. The first little part turn you see now panning to the bottom of your screen, that is known as the dog leg, both famous and infamous for its ability to pass on restarts where things can fan out 4, 5, 6, 7 wide even before they all have to condense it down to that tight turn 1 and 2 before they make their way back up the backstretch toward 3 and 4. So it was not initially designed this way, but ever since they've reconfigured it and paved over that patch of grass where the dog leg is now, it has led to some absolutely crazy restarts.
Let's hope we get some crazy restarts tonight, because that'll make fun for the broadcast. But hopefully they're safe.
It would certainly be fun. There's no doubt about that. But also, to your point, the dangers of taking the dog leg is at some point you need to rejoin the track to make turn 1. There's just simply not enough room for 7 cars to stay 7 wide going into turn 1. So that is both the blessing and the curse of the dog leg, is you really chop off a lot of track and you can get to turn 1 in a hurry. But you just got to make sure you can rejoin without wiping out yourself or others. So that'll certainly be something to watch. And knowing the way the CIL has raced it previously, I have a gut feeling we're going to see some of that right off the bat this race tonight. I keep wanting to say this weekend, but it's a Monday. My days are all thrown off nowadays. But we should be in for a good one here. Right now, cars are on track qualifying, and that will be concluding, I'd imagine, pretty shortly.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, doesn't look like there's too much action on behind us, but yeah, hopefully qualifying's coming to a short, because I think, like you, I'm ready to go green. I'm ready to see some good racing.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've got 150 laps ahead of us here. Should be an absolute blast. This is a 1-mile track, but one of the most oddly configured 1-milers there is on the NASCAR circuit. And each of these turns are wildly different. The dog leg, you can take it basically full speed. Turns 1 and 2 and turns 3 and 4, you really need to get on the brakes, especially 1 and 2, because that corner just seems to linger. And when you finally feel like you've rounded out the apex and you can start accelerating again, there's just another extra bit of turn, and the exit of turn 2 can really jump out and bite you here if you're not careful.
And especially rejoining in back to the rest of the traffic, that especially little turn in the traffic, that ends chaos.
That it really does. I mean, this track is known for being able to provide the most insane restarts on the schedule. But let's take a look here and see what one of these laps around Phoenix Raceway looks like. We'll go on board here to see what a qualifying lap is going to look like. We'll be on board with Logan Clampitt of Cal State Fullerton, last week's winner at Kentucky and 2-time winner this season.
Yeah, so going into turn 1, he takes it really wide. Looks like he's going to stay kind of in the center of it and then continue to hug that wall. Is coming out, get as much speed to get into the straightaway to make sure, you keep pushing as much speed as you can, get close up to the wall. And again, you kind of want to, ride that wall as much acceleration as you can accelerate 2 out to the wall. And then he's continuing to just ride that wall and, going around.
Yeah, and you saw him. He took the dog leg there on that qualifying lap. Definitely not a surprise here, because that chops off a ton of time. It's not necessarily great for long-term health of the tires, and as things start to fan out, more and more cars might skew back up toward the track. But you could see even there on the cooldown lap, he really drove it in deep toward the dog leg and then came back up onto the racing surface going into turns 1 and 2. Now flying down the backstretch into 3 and 4, much as Keith pointed out, high up to the walls on the straightaways, and then really digging down toward the apron through the corners, because there's just not nearly enough speed to be carried through the corner to try and run the outside for a prolonged period of time. So it is a track that might on the surface appear very one-laned, but that is why with this reconfiguration, people just make their own lanes, whether that is the quote-unquote racing surface or not. And that is where you'll see a lot of passing tonight, I think, is off the corner of turn 4, down through the dogleg in the 1, and then the other place being if someone gets a bad exit off a 2 key, I think you could see a lot of action coming off the corner. Historically, that, especially on restarts, has been a trouble spot. Someone gets a little too anxious to get back on the accelerator, clips the outside wall, and there's not nearly enough room behind you to get out of the way. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll just see. Hopefully, it's people are smart and don't do that. And we did just get the cue. It sounds like the grid is ready, so let's get into the grid because we're ready to race.
Starting off tonight on row 1, it's going to be Logan Clampitt from Cal State Fullerton alongside Drew Jawa of Chattahoochee Technical. I mean, these two drivers, the winningest driver so far this season and the guy leading the points, what more could you ask for on row 1? Matthew Morton, the runner-up from last week from Ohio State, along with two-time CIL Phoenix winner Muhammad Alif on the outside of row 2. Row 3 is Tim Robb from American University in that Flamin' 5 car alongside Matt O'Brien from Michigan Technological University there on the outside of row 3. Row 4, Tim Moore from Manhattanville College and Brandon Schulenberger from Wingate University. And then in row 5, it'll be Jonathan Dierkop from the University of Central Florida, starting alongside the third step at the podium from last week's race at Kentucky, Drew Williams from Clemson.
And then starting off row number 6, Matthew Nerberg from NC State. And right beside him is Jason Wallet from Drexel University. Row 7 is Austin D. Long from Pennsylvania College of Technology, along with Clint Hiddleman, who is from UNC Charlotte. Row 8, you got Andrew Sage from Ball State University and Timothy Williams from Drexel University. Row 9 is Major from Texas, Monclavis from Texas A&M, and then Athena Leclerc from St. Clair College. And then row 10 is going to be Michael Snyder from Pennsylvania College of Technology and Jake Cummings from Wingate University.
All right, getting into the back half of the field here, 21st and 22nd, Sky Schreck from the University of Oklahoma and Duncan O'Connor from Nova Scotia Community College, a guy who's top 5 in points right now, starting a little far back in the field. Alex Hallinar from Binghamton rolls off 23rd alongside Nick Stockner from Clemson on the outside of row 12. Row 13, Dylan Godinez from the Penn College of Technology alongside Andrew Burrell from Clemson. Row 14, you've got Cale Davidson making his College Cup Series debut for the season from Ball State alongside Zach Tallman from PCT. And in row 15, it's Nathan Inman from Clemson University alongside Jacob Wiest from UNC Charlotte.
Starting row 16 is Tristan Leclerc from St. Clair College, along with Zerwin Bartholomew from St. Clair College. Row 17 is Jake Hall from Clemson University, and then Spencer Brown from UNC Charlotte. And then row 18 is Jonathan Agee from Robert Morris University, and Jarrett Ketter from UNC Charlotte. And then it looks like that's the end of the rows, I believe.
That might be Logan Smith, although I'm not entirely sure. Alongside Colin Culpa of Indiana University, we will do a quick fact check, though, to see who the driver of the 18 is there, rolling off row 19. So 38 cars entered into tonight's race here from Phoenix Raceway. Another pretty big field here tonight, although not the full 43, so maybe a little bit more room to navigate, although I don't know how much more room you'll find on a 1-mile track with only 5 cars short of a maximum field.
Yeah, and like you were saying, hopefully a little bit less traffic, a little bit, less chaos, and, maybe a little bit more places to maneuver. If you spin your car, maybe you can get lucky and get away with it.
It's entirely possible. I mean, the biggest issue I think a lot of these drivers are going to find on this opening restart is going into turn 1. It is believed that was Sean Campbell who was rolling off row 19. Fun fact about Sean Campbell, the first CIL Phoenix winner, actually, all the way back in season 2. So he's going to have to start from the back tonight, but he knows what it takes to get it done. Granted, that was in the Gen 6 cars, but definitely no stranger to the CIL action is Randolph Community College's Sean Campbell. And it looks like cars are on the grid here and just about ready to go. The pace car has peeled off, and now they'll make their way around that long backstretch into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is in the air, and we are racing here at Phoenix.
Yeah, here we go, baby. Like I said, just hope that traffic can stay out of the way as we're going, past that front line, and green flag racing. Here we go.
Early 3 wide into turn 1, shocking absolutely nobody. A little bit tight on the exit there was Tim Moore and Tim Robb, a couple of Tims there, and the caution is out early, but that was definitely farther back in the field as it looked like the front 10, 15, 20 cars got through it pretty cleanly. Let's see, Zach Tallman around there from Penn College of Technology in the 71. He gets it fired and going again. But we will have to see what happened to the 71 when we have an opportunity to see the replay. But definitely not an ideal start there for Tallman.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm going to be very curious to see, was that just, unfortunate situation of getting in traffic, or could that just been not firing up those tires right in that first lap?
Yeah, it's entirely possible. We'll see the replay in a moment here, but you definitely started in the danger zone there of the mid-20s. That's a tough place to be because you're far enough back where you really have to play off the cars in front of you. But there's enough cars behind you where anything could happen coming up the rear. So definitely not a great place to be. But an early caution here on lap 1 from Phoenix will bring out the yellow for the first time here this evening. And we'll let these cars, conserve a bit of tire here as this race stretches on. We've seen some long green flag runs at Phoenix, so it certainly might not be too much of a problem to these drivers up front to save as much fuel and tire early should it come to that.
I'd say those guys up front are probably loving the fact that it's a red yellow flag because their pitch strategies may have gotten messed up a little bit, but you know what? They're leading the pack, so their tires and their fuel is being conserved already, and we're probably going to be under yellow for another lap or two. So there you go. You just got 5 free laps, essentially.
Yeah, and that's not to be overstated, especially at a track like Phoenix. I know from personal experience how pit strategy can play out here. I once raced here a number of years ago, and pit strategy worked in my favor till I wrecked a couple laps later because I ran out of talent. Neither here nor there. Let's take a look at the replay and see what happened. All right, so as you can see, this is the cars fanning into the dog leg, and as they make their way back on track, we're looking on board there with Major Monsivice, I believe, in the 041 from Texas A&M. Bit of contact there from Michael Sidor, and just up the hill they go, collects Athena Leclerc. That looks to be Jake Cummings involved as well. And then not entirely sure how Tallman gets around. He looked completely fine through that whole exchange. But the 71 must have went around at a later point, but the caution was actually higher up in the field. It was contact there between Michael Sidor in the 15 and Major Monsivice in the 041, which washed the 041 up the track, collecting Athena Leclerc. So definitely not an ideal start for those drivers, especially Athena Leclerc, innocent bystander in that situation.
Yeah, it's always the worst when you're just kind of driving along and you get tapped in the back, and that could be it.
We also have an opportunity here to see what ended up happening to the 71 because we know he went around. That's what we caught on the live feed at the end of the caution. Let's see what happened to Zach Tallman because it looked like he got through the initial contact okay. So you see that 71 up there on the high lane. And
ooh,
bit of heavy contact there with Burl, but the car is still the 51 gets loose on the apron. The 188 goes up to avoid. Spencer Brown and Zach Tallman go around, so that was the caution that kept on giving, much to the regret of a lot of the drivers involved.
Yeah, and I was not expecting it to be 2 collisions. It makes me wonder, is this going to be one of those flag fest races tonight? I really hope not, but who knows? It is a very unique track, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it's unique, but it's also narrow. So sometimes you don't have anywhere to go. That time, I think it may have been an avoidable situation if you don't lose the car in the apron there, but easy to say when watching from up here as opposed to actually being behind the wheel. But the pace car has peeled off here, so we are about to go green flag racing once again in just a moment. It is still two-time CIL winner Logan Clampitt up front. Matt Morton to his outside here. He was able to get around Drew Joie on that short stint. So as they enter the Geico restart zone, Barney will drop the green flag, and here we go once again racing at Phoenix, take 2.
And let's see, looks like most people got through clearly, so we got, and it looks like, Logan got that great start again as he is all the way up there and about, looks like it's a 0.2 second gap already.
Yeah, that inside line looks to be really powerful on the restart as we see Drew Joie get back up to second. He must have lost out on the previous restart starting on the outside, but he was able to capitalize from third there, clearly up into second here. But right now, yeah, Logan Clampitt's got a lot of open track in front of him. Oh, Tim Moore loose in the dog leg, and he's going to collect somebody with him. The 074 from Manhattanville College tried taking the dog leg, came back up onto the track, lost the back end of the car. Jake Cummings involved for the second time tonight. I don't know if the cautions come out. The green marker's honestly still on the screen. I can't imagine. There we go. I was about to say, I couldn't imagine they keep that green with Tim Moore sideways at the entrance of turn 1. But you were able to see that happen in real time there, Keith. I mean, they were making their way between the dog leg and turn 1, and you could just see the moment he re-entered the racing surface, the back end of that car kicked out on him.
And like you were stating earlier in the pre-race show, you got to be careful with the rejoin. And right there, it hit. And unfortunately, it causes wrecks like that, especially on these tires that only eight laps old, and we've had what, one racing lap. These tires have to be in terrible conditions for avoidance.
Yeah, they definitely don't have much heat in them for sure. But let's take a look at the replay here and just see exactly what happened to Tim Moore. Pretty sure it was just getting loose on the rejoin, but we'll be able to take a closer look right now. So he is the 074 here.
He took it wide. That's interesting.
Oh, he didn't even take the dog leg.
No. Oh, he just got ran into. But was that Jake Cummings that I saw?
Jake Cummings comes in later here. There's Cummings
there it
in 007 with heavy contact in the Tim Moore. So I was a bit mistaken there. I thought Tim Moore had taken the dog leg and come back up onto the track. He actually didn't take the dog leg and just had the back tire spin on him a little bit trying to get around the corner.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Again, the tires are not really in condition to be driving right now, so it's he just lost it because the tires are cold.
Yeah, and that's such a tough situation where, you want to be able to push the issue on restarts when everyone's bunched together, but Phoenix is such a track where you need to be so careful with your throttle control. And if you just get a little over anxious to try and make something happen, you can see situations like that where Tim Moore, to his credit, he caught that car off the initial slide. But, when you're running in the top 10 and you slow down that drastically in front of the field trying to make their way through there, I mean, it's a tough situation for the cars coming up behind because they don't really have time to try and get out of the way. So it was a good initial save, but just too little too late, I think, there for the 074.
And especially with the traffic being right there, he just kind of bad place, bad time, unfortunately. And, it's going to give him some damage in that car that hopefully is not too bad and joining right back into this race.
Yeah. So far, two laps of green flag racing, 2 cautions so far to open the Avondale 150. Certainly not an ideal start, but, with the pace car peeling off here, another opportunity to rack them up and try once again.
The commentator's curse is coming alive tonight. I said I didn't want this many yellows, but wow.
Yeah, it's certainly been a heavy caution aura to the start of this race. But here they go in toward the Geico restart zone. Once again, it'll be Clampitt on the inside, Drew Joie on the outside. Green flag is in the air. Here we go once again from Phoenix, and once again Clampitt shoots out like he was launched out of a cannon.
That man has something down tonight. He just knows how to restart on this track. Like you were saying, he already has a decent gap. But it definitely looks like that backpack is fighting a little bit. I think I saw a 3 wide back there.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. They definitely are 2-3 wide coming off the corner. The first 4 cars or so have single filed out, and then it's about 2 wide from them on back, starting with Tim Robb and Matt O'Brien. As we take the stripe here for lap 11, you've got Clampitt, Jawat, and Morton, your top three. But the battling is fierce behind them for just inside the top 10, as it looks like there's looked like Alex Hallinar just plummeted down the timing table. I wonder if something happened to the 057. We're looking at the side of the screen. He dropped from like inside the top 30 to down to 35th in the blink of an eye. But as it currently stands right now, Logan Clampitt in control out front. And now with a couple laps under our belt, it looks like drivers are starting to settle in just a little bit.
Yeah, it's good. Hopefully they can get those tires warmed up and just get focused on this endurance race that we call NASCAR.
It's certainly, I don't think enough people give it credit for the amount of endurance it takes for some of these races. Even in the CIL, I mean, these are not short races by any means. I mean, we're doing 150 laps here. It's 150 miles. And with lap times ranging around 30 seconds, obviously a little bit lower than that, but I mean, we're still looking at a hardy amount of time behind the wheel, especially a lot of time where you can't just floor it like you would be at Daytona or Talladega. This is a very technical track with corner entry and corner exits, so definitely going to be exhausting as this race goes on. But as we're going here, now things have finally started to settle in, and we're seeing Phoenix the way we typically see it. Oh, that's Sky Shrek, the Oklahoma driver, sideways. I believe that's on the front stretch. And the caution's out once again. I definitely jinxed it by saying everyone was starting to settle in.
Man, Alex, you had to jinx it. It was good racing, but unfortunately, I'm going to be really curious to see, was that just, too quick on the throttle? Did he get tapped? So, yeah, hopefully we get the replay to see that. But we were just having good racing, man.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to get to that. We were just starting to get to that point where drivers, especially through the middle of the pack, where things were starting to get a little dicey early, they were finally starting to find the rhythm.
Yeah.
And then just as we were commenting on that fact, the 43 goes around, and it looked like there might have been a couple of others. So could be a similar situation to we saw last week in Kentucky, where the first half of the race was pretty caution heavy, and then it went green the rest of the way from about the midpoint on. That would certainly be an interesting parallel to last week, although these tracks do race very differently from each other.
Yeah, I mean, this is a shorter track, I believe, so it should, you got to watch, and you just got to be careful, really, and just continue to focus on hitting your marks. Like, in street cars, you got to focus on hitting your marks, and especially a track like this that's got these fun corners, you got to focus, where you're going to get off the gas, where you're going to get on that gas to make sure your car is, in tip-top shape, that you don't lose it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so easy to lose it that you really need to be mindful of it, and you can't let your mind stray for a second. But let's take a look here, see what happened to Sky Shrek, the Oklahoma driver. We saw that they were on the front stretch sideways, but we'll have to see if they had some help. So you can see the 43 there, and they're ahead of Timothy Williams. Oh, and just starts trying to over-accelerate the corner. Spins, loses the back end, and was almost clear. Only got a little bit of contact there from Spencer Brown in the 188. The 6 car from St. Clair, what happened there? They just completely fishtailed trying to get around through that, and I think they actually got the worst of the damage of anybody involved. That is Zarin Bartholomew in the 6 for St. Clair, and I genuinely think of the 3 cars that would have made contact with anything, the 6 car might have had the worst of it.
Yeah, indeed. I wonder what happened there. If it was just, because of the wrecking behind, maybe they got distracted and were spun out too and hit that wall.
Which would be similar to that initial caution where it looked like the caution was up at the top of the corner, and then someone trying to get out of the way lost it on the apron, slid up, and collected a couple more cars. So it's worth noting the CIL does not have any fast repairs on. So once your car takes terminal damage, that's it, you're done. And that's maybe part of the reason why we still see the 074 on pit lane here after that heavy caution they had earlier. Looks like you see Hallinar rolling off pit lane there. But yeah, so if you get any damage, you got to come down and let the virtual crew try and clean it up and get to work. And if they can't patch it up, that'll be the end of your night. So got to be careful, because it's very much like real life in the sense of once that thing's toast, it ain't coming back.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate if that car is toast, because we've barely had any racing, and just to come into, I know the morale, and there's a lot of just fun in these leagues, and unfortunately, if you get taken out early, it just kind of makes you not want to come back week to week, and unfortunately, looks like that might be the case tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, with Tim Moore, I mean, he was leading the alumni points coming into tonight's race. So right now, if there's anyone really benefiting from that early caution, it will be Colin Kolpa, who's definitely not up toward the front of the field yet, but he's still on track, which is a good sign for his point hopes here tonight. Pace car has peeled off down pit road once again. They will make that long drive down the backstretch into turn 3 and 4. It'll be Clampitt on the inside, Drew Jawah on the outside. Barney's got the green flag in the air, and as they make their way into the Geico restart zone, we are racing once again at Phoenix.
It's still amazing how these guys can do that. And look at this. Like, as I was talking to me, I'm like, Clampitt is way ahead already.
Yeah, and right now, just behind him, though, you've got quite the scrap for second. Drew Jawah trying to hold off both Muhammad Alif and Matt Morton here. Alif's won twice at Phoenix. He knows what it takes, and right now he's trying to run that middle line on the outside of Matt Morton as they make their way toward the front stretch. Side by side for third, coming to the line that time by. Looks like, though, Alif might have a little bit of a nose ahead, but he's going to take the definitely not optimal way in the turn 1 and 2. Matt Morton has a lot less track to cover through the corner.
Yeah, I wonder if he was maybe just pushed off a little bit, kind of had to give the space, because sometimes, you just got to give that space.
Now Alif, with position in hand, has his sights set on the back bumper of the 3 and Drew Jawah. Meanwhile, though, Jawah's trying to chase down Logan Clampitt. He hasn't let him get away yet. Still a 2/10 gap, though, between the leader and second place. Now Alif once again going to that middle lane. Maybe he's trying a bit of a different line from the leaders. We'll see if it works out for him. He's getting a little bit of a run down the backstretch here, closing in on the 3. Now closing in toward the back bumper is the Ball State driver, looking to try and make something happen on the inside here going down the front stretch. He's way too far back to make a dive just yet, but already here on lap 22, starting to get a little creative with where he's running his lines.
Yeah, it's the airflow might be a big thing, but when you're that far out, you just gotta, find that line to hopefully catch up to get that draft. And looks like he may have found a little bit of a draft as he's starting to creep up on Jawah right now.
Morton now took a look to the inside of Alif, wasn't able to get the job done, and now he's got Tim Robb all over his deck lid. As now Robb to the outside going into turn 1. Is he going to be able to keep the nose to the outside? Yes, he is. They're going to be side by side in the corner, but that American University car really washing up through 1 and 2. Going to try and carry that momentum on the outside. Back down the backstretch. Oh, nearly contact between the two. But this battle continues as they dive into 3.
Yeah, that's it. They're battling. Tim's probably getting a little bit of that side draft, so I think he's probably got that advantage. But and he just there he goes. He just took advantage of it.
Yeah, that outside run giving him just enough momentum to get around the driver of the Ohio State car there, Matt Morton. Tim Robb moving up in the 4th. Morton now has dropped back a couple of positions. He's now still on the top 5 in the last car in this lead chain here before it's almost a second back to Matt O'Brien. But right now, yeah, he's going in the wrong direction. But right now, this lead pack kind of settling in a little bit, but there is definitely still some action to be had just behind him as Matt Nordberg is all over the back of Matt O'Brien from Michigan Tech.
Yeah, this is the racing I wanted. This is awesome. They're having good, clean racing right now, and hopefully they're starting to find that groove, and that we can maybe get in the rest of the race have like a repeat of last week. The first beginning of the race was a little, flag fest, but now it's clean racing.
Yeah, it just took a couple of laps for the nerves to work themselves out. Now people starting to settle in, and don't look now, but a couple of Clemson teammates find themselves in the top 10. Nick Stockner up from 14th to 9th. Drew Williams up there at the 10th now. The Tigers starting to creep their way up the timing table as they are trying to find a way past Jonathan Deercup, but right now Deercup's got him pretty much bottled up from 8th on back.
Yeah, hopefully those guys can use each other, either draft to catch up, because, having a teammate right there is helpful.
Meanwhile, up in this lead pack, Tim Robb has found the back bumper of Muhammad Alif. Now we're going to try to use that outside line, going to be able to make it work, going to be really tight off the corner. Alif closes the door. Robb's going to have to slide back in the line and try again later, because that was almost really dicey there, but a well-timed block from the 12 is going to keep Tim Robb behind him. But that 5 car right now looks like it's got a lot of speed, and I don't think he's going to be too keen on staying behind the 12 for very long.
Yeah, like you were saying, he's got a lot of speed, but I almost wonder how much is that going to affect his tires down. I was saying it was about 93 laps that you could do on a tire here, so you got to factor in how hard you push now that you could possibly have to pit earlier than everyone else.
Yeah, and the other part of it being with the amount of cautions there's been, this fuel window is definitely greater than when people expected at the start of the race. So we're getting a little farther back in the field here. Some heavy action between Michael Sidor, Brandon Schulenberger, and Duncan O'Connor. You see Sidor there, the Penn College car on the inside, Brandon Schulenberger from Wingate on the outside. They are side by side, door to door at the moment. This is the battle for 18th. Schulenberger is going to win out. He had the regroup after that initial contact earlier in the race, but now he's starting to move his way forward again, as is the 041 of Major Monsivice, who was also caught up in that early contact. So both the 7 and the 041 starting to make their way back forward once again.
Yeah, and this is why you never give up on oval. If your car is still drivable, drive it, because you can make up the positions and get those points. And this is, a prime example.
Absolutely. Now Schulenberger maybe looking to the inside of the Texas A&M International driver. That Bulldogs machine running the yellow line. Had the lane, but didn't have the momentum to stick the nose in just yet. As you see them dive to the inside here, they're going to try and find their way past Jacob Wiest. Wiest there in the 600 just in front of him. But right now, side by side, actually behind him is O'Connor and Michael Sidor. So definitely some battling happening all throughout this little group here. But Jacob Wiest is a man on a mission right now. Qualified back, I believe, in 30th. He's already up to 16th. So the UNC Charlotte car there from the alumni division, Jacob Wiest really trucking in the early going.
Yeah, these guys are, finding the grooves now. And hopefully, those back guys are going to, find pace and catch up and, getting to the points.
Yeah, and on the bottom right of your screen here, you can see what Brandon Schulenberger is seeing on board his Wingate Ford Mustang. You see the battle between Wiest and Monsivice out the front of his windshield. Now diving to the dogleg. Oh, almost contact there. Maybe a little bit of contact actually between Wiest and Monsivice. That got really hairy going into the dogleg. Now 3 wide through turn 1 and 2. Duncan O'Connor into the mix as well on the high side. How are they going to sort this one out as they come off of turn 2? It'll be 2 by 2. Wiest and Schulenberger, and then O'Connor and Monsivice, the big loser in that exchange, dropping 3 positions.
Yeah, that was some dicey driving there, but they kept their lines, they kept driving, and they just, trusted the cars, and look what happens.
Yeah, now Schulenberger looking to the inside of Wiest. This is the battle, I believe, for 16th or 15th. Duncan O'Connor kind of onto the scene now as well, taking advantage of that contact that happened just a little bit earlier. Schulenberger will take the position away as he continues his charge to the front, now running in the 16th position. And you can see this field has really started to pack up into a couple of groups. There's like the lead pack, there's kind of the rest of the top 10, there's about the 11th to 15th group, and now this 16th to 20th group, maybe say 22nd. So definitely some blobs forming here on the track.
Yeah, and especially looking at the timing charts up at the front of the pack, that pack is just kind of, Clampitt's just kind of minding his own business. Well, you said that there's, the top, 3 or 4 people are just kind of sticking together, and there's a nice gap, and they're just kind of finding their grooves now and just sticking in for the race.
Yeah, right now, also worth noting, just inside the top 10. Oh, Jared Kaler a little sideways. He was battling with Jonathan Deerkop. I was actually just about to say that Kaler has gone from the back of the field to inside the top 10 there as he was battling with the UCF driver. And then right as we cut to him, he was sideways coming off of turn 2, had to catch the car, able to do so, but is going to drop a handful of positions. But the UNC Charlotte driver's charge to the front will resume once again. He's a multi-time champion here in the College Cup Series, and yeah, that car control might be part of the reason why, but not sure if that was due to him being loose or maybe having a little bit of help.
That's what I'd be even curious to. Does he have any damage on board? Because he did save it, but he did look like he tapped the wall a little bit, so that might be affecting his driving style, especially with, in a track like this. It does look like it's a little bit downforce heavy. You need that, that extra little bit of, car.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, any sort of aero damage, especially in these next gens that are so aero dependent, any kind of aero damage will affect the way that car handles. So that'll be something to keep an eye on as this race progresses. And that also goes for drivers like the 041 here in Major Montsevice. I mean, that heavy contact early cannot have benefited the car, I'd imagine. The Texas A&M driver still hanging up there in the top 20, running 18th as they currently stand, but I wonder if that car is going to have the power necessary to advance too much farther into the field. Looking through the timing table here, one battle that's really got me intrigued once again is the battle for ninth. Is now Austin DeLong has jumped onto the scene and is hounding the back bumper of Jonathan Deerkop for ninth. We had just seen Deerkop battling with Kaler. Now it's Austin DeLong jumping onto the scene. Ooh, we have a replay though of what happened to Jared Kaler. Let's take a look here and see what happened to the UNC Charlotte driver. Oh, yeah, so the one just washes up.
Yeah.
The 700 was running them tight, but but Jared Kaler, he just really drove it deep into the corner and then washed up the track a little bit. So good save and good job to not get a pit road penalty by violating the commitment cone. But yeah, no, that was self-inflicted there from the Niner Esport driver.
That's what I almost wonder if that possibly could have been the infamous netcode that we all love in iRacing. After all, it is a sim.
Yeah. And we have all been victims to it at least once or twice, some drivers, many more. But right now, I mean, you're looking through the field, and now everyone's really kind of starting to settle in. They're finding their rhythm. And the big thing now is trying to manage tires while progressing through the field. You see, this is the battle right now for ninth. Nick Stockner on the outside in the 124, Austin DeLong on the inside in the 22. Now DeLong looking to the outside, a little bit of a switch up there going into turn 3 and 4. Stockner going to hold on to the position for now, but Austin DeLong's got some help in his teammate Dylan Godinez behind him. Penn College Technology running 10-11, chasing down Clemson, who's running 8-9 right now. So pair of teammates battling a pair of teammates.
Yeah, that's going to make things very interesting. Just having your teammate there, just even that moral support of knowing, if you lose it a little bit, you can jump right back onto your teammate and they can hopefully pull you back to that position is, probably a great feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps knowing that the person behind you is not going to try to run you over if they can help it. But it is worth noting, I'm pretty sure with both of those pairings, William Stockner and DeLong Godinez, both of them have made contact with each other before in previous races. So maybe that's not as much of a reassuring thing as they would hope, as Godinez got real loose there coming out of 2. He's going to drop 2, maybe 3 positions as they made their way down the backstretch there. The 808 losing out to, let's see, it looks like Deerkop as well as Jason Willott there has actually fallen back behind the 808. But yeah, someone definitely got real loose coming off the corner. And that is going to drop him a couple of places.
Yeah, this is one of those tracks that if you make a small little mistake, you're going to get bitten alive for it, and unfortunately that just happened.
That it did. So able to recover and keep trucking along as they stand, as you see the 6 of Zara and Bartholomew coming off of pit road here. But now this field, contact there between DeLong and Stockner. They're starting to lean on each other a little bit, and knowing both of those drivers, they're not going to take too kindly to that bit of contact. So we'll see how they raced each other here going down the front stretch. Looks like they're giving each other a little bit of room. DeLong deep into the dog leg. Now coming back on track as they dive into turn 1. It'll be DeLong down on the apron. Stockner 1 lane higher. Still side by side through the corner. Neither driver giving an inch.
Yeah, these guys are hopefully going to be a good battle between these two. Hopefully they're smart. And that you saw having the dog leg is a huge benefit on speed.
And once again, we see when the 124 is able to take control of the position there coming off of 2, DeLong rockets it going into 3 on the high side, going for the switchback. And it's working for him, but one of these times, I'm just thinking the 124 might not be all the way down just yet, and there could be contact between the two because the 22 carries so much speed into the corner. But right now we're looking back up front. This is Matt Morton trying to chase down Muhammad Alif. This is the battle for third as they currently run. Clampitt's checked out to a 1.2 second lead over Drew Jawah, who's nearly 2 seconds clear of Alif. This is where the battling begins once again in that top pack. But right now, yeah, Logan Clampitt from California State Fullerton won multiple races this year, including Kentucky last week, and right now looking in really good shape to go back-to-back.
I'm going to say he just has to manage his tires and his fuel and just watch out for lap traffic, and he should have a easy breeze to victory lane this evening.
Yeah, I mean, easier said than done. Strategy can change at a moment's notice around here. But as they currently roll, he is definitely in really good position to do exactly what he set out to do, which is run every race remaining in the regular season here, qualify for the Cup Series playoffs. But right now, yeah, as we look a little farther through the field, a couple of drivers who have had close calls so far in the early going of this race, it's Jared Kaler and Dylan Godinez. Both drivers having their moment where you tighten up the you pucker up a little bit. Both cars in one piece, still moving forward and still in contention here for some good points before the pit stops.
We've all been there, but you know what? You just got to pucker up and hope that you survive it. And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, and just keep on that gas and just pray to God you make it.
Yeah, really, it really do be like that sometimes. But yeah, we're starting to get to a point here where you're really starting to notice the tire fall. Actually, I think is a caution out. They seem to be going pretty slow.
Yeah, they do. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, the caution is out here on lap 52. It looked like everyone was slowing down, trying to figure out where the caution's coming from. Don't have a great gauge at the moment. Couldn't tell you what happened. But obviously, our production team will be looking into that and finding what brought the caution out here on lap 52. But that was a pretty hardy green flag stint there, Keith. And I'd imagine just about everyone's going to be coming down pit road here after 50 laps on these tires.
I was going to say, this is going to be a very interesting pit. That's why I'll be curious to see if the production team is going to be able to get who's all coming into the pits. Because like you're saying, that this is going to be a very pit stop, heavy flag, just because we've been racing for so long.
Yeah, it'd be a good way to kind of chop this race up by a third, given just past 50 laps here of the 150-lap race. You see Logan Clampitt now trying to catch up, I believe, to the pace car. So, I don't know. They look like they're going pretty well. It's tough to tell. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, unless it was just a really slow corner, and I perceived it to be a caution. But right now, Clampitt's still boogieing.
Yeah, it looks like there may not be a yellow flag out. He does look like he's going quite fast.
Yeah, so Clampitt, I guess, is still looking for the pace car. Not entirely sure where it ended up.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's showing that Davison is currently leading the race, so I'm not sure what's going on right now. Is iRacing just being really confused?
It would not be the first time that has happened. So, yeah, no... I mean, it sounds like the production team is also as baffled as we are up here in the booth, folks. Could not tell you. It definitely seemed like people were slowing down for a caution. And then we jump back on board with Logan Clampitt, who's running full speed laps here on lap 53. Maybe now finally starting to slow it down a little bit. Man, I could not tell you what happened there. Fine. Okay, there's the pace car.
Yeah.
So the caution's out. Clampitt is caught up with the pace car. That was a little confusing to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is looking. It sounds like production may have figured out the issue, and it looks like we're all good. But yeah, that was interesting. Like you were saying, if we're under yellow flag, if you were running full laps, I wonder, who knows? Maybe just a miscommunication or.
So, all right, let's see if we can find what brought out the caution on lap 52. That was a couple laps ago. Let's see what happened to bring out the flag. All right, so we're taking a look here, and we got the 49 from St. Clair College. That's Tristan Leclerc. Oh, heavy contact there with Tim Wilms from Drexel. I mean, the 49 just loses it in the dog leg. And then gets run over from behind by the 86. But that's the danger of running the dog leg on older tires that we haven't gotten to see yet because of all the cautions up front. But when those tires wear, it is so easy to not have the grip changing from banking to flat back to banking. And that one really bit Tristan LeClaire right there.
Yeah, and it looks like, unfortunately, their evening might be done with that, as they just blipped right off the track. So, unfortunate situations, but that dog leg is a very dangerous move, and again, it bit somebody again.
So looking at the top 6 here, not a whole lot has changed outside of now Matt O'Brien running 5th, Drew Williams running 6th. Unfortunately, due to trying to find the replay from the caution, we did miss the pit cycle, but it doesn't look like there was much of any changes through the top 3. So it'll be Clampitt and Joie. Here we go. Once again, green flag in the air. Racing once again at Phoenix. Here they go through the dog leg, and they are fanning out already.
That's what I'll be curious to see how quickly these guys get off. I mean, again, Logan is just showing how good of a starter he is. He already has a decent gap.
Yeah, that inside lane with no one in front of you, such a huge advantage here at Phoenix, is you're able just to immediately dive down to the dog leg with nothing stopping you. And he is using that ability to full effect here. But Drew Joie kind of on the back bumper now of Clampitt as they go down through the dog leg. Alif drives really deep into it. Coming back on track here, trying to take away 3rd from Tim Robb. Right now, quite the battle going on here. Can Drew Joie hang on to the back bumper of Logan Clampitt, or will the 44 start to drive away?
And these guys just look like they're in that draft, so this is going to be some very good batting. It looks like Alif unfortunately lost out on his battle, but this front 3 is going to be battling hard, as you see Tim Robb, right on top of Joie.
Yeah, Tim Robb now to the outside of Joie going into turn 1. Not able to keep the nose to the outside entering the corner, but gets a great run through the center of it. They'll be side by side on corner exit. Here comes American University. If Logan Clampitt wasn't there, that would have been an easily completed pass there for Tim Robb going into turn 3. Now he'll get the job done coming off of 4. And now there is a new challenger for the lead in Logan Clampitt. It is Tim Robb and American University. We know he's hungry for a win. He won twice back in the spring. Definitely looking to get back in the victory lane here, but the battle for second not done yet. Here comes Drew Joie back on the inside, and this battling is going to let Clampitt get a little bit of separation.
Yeah, like you were saying, right as you're saying that Tim Robb's looking powerful, Drew was just like, nope, I'm coming and battling you. You aren't getting this easily. And if they're going to keep battling, and this is the racing we want to see, good, clean, hard racing.
Yeah, especially when it comes to the battle for the lead, you love nothing more than a nice fight. As now here comes Tim Robb to the outside. He's got a nose to the back bumper of Clampitt. Now side by side down the backstretch, lunging into the corner is Tim Robb. He's got a nose ahead going through 3 and 4, trying to pull the corner. Able to do so, and on lap 60, we've got a new leader at Phoenix.
Yeah, he just took a risk and sent it, and it paid off. And now it looks like even Clampitt may have had a bad exit out, because Drew is right on top of him.
Yeah, Drew Joie now on the back bumper of Clampitt. Let's see if he tries making his move here into the corner. It looks like he'll hang in line for just a second. If there's one thing I know about Tim Robb, is that he is one of the best short-run racers in the CIL. The question mark becomes what happens as the longer a run goes on. Will the tires hold up for the long run? So that might be the game that Logan Clampitt's trying to play right now. But as they stand, Tim Robb has checked out, nearly a half-second gap back to Clampitt and Joie. And just behind them, Drew Williams looking maybe on the inside of Muhammad Alif as this battle inside the top 10 starts to heat up.
The biggest thing I wonder, though, is what are the tire conditions looking up front here? Because, what is this going to be a yellow flag, I believe? Is that the
Wallet and Sky Shrek sideways on the exit of turn 2. That's going to bring out the caution here on lap 63. And if there's one person I think that benefits the most, it's going to be Tim Robb. He'll be able to restart from the inside line. It's going to force Clampitt to the outside, where he has not restarted yet this evening.
Well, and that was even going to bring up a point I was going to make up. I was going to say, what are these tire conditions like? Are these guys going to start to struggle a little bit as we're getting into that? Maybe you got to be a little bit, lighter in your tires, as they've been running 63 laps. So what's tire conditions on these two guys' cars that, are battling up here?
Yeah, but that'll certainly let everyone's tires cool off a little bit. Looking through, we'll have the replay for you in just a second, folks. But we did see that looked to be Sky Shrek in the 43 from Oklahoma and Jason Wallet in the 76 from Drexel. Not sure exactly where they were running at the time of caution, but based off of where they've been running previously, I would guess somewhere in the middle of the field. But now we have the replay. Let's take a look and see what happened to the 76 and the 43. So you see Wallet's on the inside of Kaler. Oh, goes around there. Don't know if that was washing up the track a little bit. Bit of net code just getting loose. Heavy contact with Morton and Nordberg. What happened to the 43? What? That was completely unrelated. I'm going to humbly request our production team to get the scoop on what happened to the 43 there. We're going to have an opportunity in a moment here, hopefully, to see what happened there. But it looked like a bit of contact potentially between Wallet and Kaler. They were definitely running each other tight, so I don't know if it was Wallet washing up, Kaler coming down, but a net code. Let's take a look here, actually. The onboard of, I believe it's going to be the 43 of Sky Shrek. I mean, this was just catapulting into the wall.
Yeah.
So on board here with the Oklahoma driver. You can start to see the caution forming up in front.
They just lost it.
Just gets a little loose, tries to correct it, overdoes it, and goes roaring into that outside wall. That's tough.
Oh, all those cars that were coming close, man. I can only imagine being in that car, just watching everyone come close and just like, please stop.
Yeah, really. That's oof. Couple of cars who had to really skate by late into that one. But now we're starting to get near the halfway point, Keith. And the big question now, I believe, is what happens to Logan Clampitt when he doesn't get the restart from the first position? Because it'll be the first time we get to see this evening. And with how strong his restarts have been on the inside, I genuinely think we might be able to see Tim Robb pull something similar, or will Logan Clampitt really just have these restarts down and be able to battle back on the outside?
My biggest question, though, is who's going to be able to fire their tires up quicker, because they do have the pace lap, but that doesn't get your tires up to temperature. So that you were saying, Tim Robb has that inside lane, but Logan Clampitt just seems like even not just here, but in general, just seems like a beast at starting.
Yeah, it's definitely something he's been able to showcase so far, and we'll get an opportunity to see it in just a second here again, or will Tim Robb be able to use that position to his advantage? Pace car peeling off as we speak.
Here we go. Our questions are going to be answered in a few seconds as we get on that front straight and just waiting for Barney to give us that green flag to get back into racing.
So it'll be Robb and Clampitt row 1, Jawa and Alif row 2, Williams and O'Brien row 3, DeLong and Deercop row 4. Here they go into turns 3 and 4, nearing the Geico restart zone. Green flag back in the air at Phoenix, and roaring into the dog leg goes 35 cars.
And it did look like Bob did get a good start. I should be curious to see what happened to the three.
Oh, Jawa to the inside now.
Yeah.
Here comes Drew Jawa from Chattahoochee Technical. He won a couple weeks ago after podiuming at Daytona. Rolled off front row, now takes the lead for the first time here this evening. Oh, what is this? An absolute yard sale on the backstretch. There must have been at least 12 cars involved there. I see Deercop. I see DeLong, Stockner, Athena Leclerc maybe. Kaler looks to be in the mix as well. Maybe Matt O'Brien. There was so many cars there, and it looks like a lot of cars who were running pretty well.
That was, I think, probably looks like most of the back packs. This is going to be interesting now because that was a bunch of the packs. So what's damage going to be like for these guys on board? And
Matt O'Brien's Michigan Tech car looks absolutely devastated. I don't know if that thing's even going to make it back.
Oh, he can't even drive it.
It looks like he's going to have to get towed back to pit road, and that's unfortunate. He was running in the top 6-7 cars all evening, and now his chances at going to victory lane might have been dashed right there. I mean, I believe he won Bristol, and looks like he won't get his second win of the season here tonight.
Unfortunately, it looked like that collision ended his night, and a lot of these cars do not look happy. I don't know how DeLong was able to bring his car in there. That tire does not look happy. Man,
So there comes DeLong. Looks like that might be Tim Moore coming down pit road as well. Stockner's in. A whole host of cars coming down there. I mean, that was That was a demolition derby coming off of 2. That wasn't a race. I mean, there was just so many cars involved there. Looks like that might be Kaler back there on pit road as well. The number 1 machine from UNC Charlotte getting it patched up and back out there. But boy, that replay, I'm not even surprised that we don't have the replay yet. Where do you even start with that?
Yeah, seriously. Like, so that's as the NASCAR fans like to reference it, that was the big one, I think, of the race, and it looked like it was probably 10, 15 cars, and like you were saying, I'm going to be really curious to see what caused it, but it's going to take a minute because it could have been just one tap another, and who you blame? With
the amount of cars that now are getting shuffled back to the rear end of the pack, there's a couple of cars in the top 10 that we don't have normally in the top 10. Nathan Inman now finds himself in the top 10. Cale Davidson is up there as well. Michael Seidor finds himself up in 7th. I mean, a couple of cars you don't see often, but we have the replay. Let's take a look at what happened. We are going to ride along with Austin DeLong, who was just at the tail end of the top 10 when this came out. I believe he was running 8th or 9th. So you see DeLong on the bottom there, 3 wide with Deerkop and Matt O'Brien making their way through 1 and 2. Oh, just running out of space, and then there's just nowhere to go. Weist is involved, Kaler, Stockner, Deerkop, Schulenberger. Seidor bails out the last second. It's just, there's so many cars. Looks like Monsivice might get through. Nope, contact with Deerkop. Duncan O'Connor from Nova Scotia Community College slipped through that unscathed. I don't know how. It looks like Timothy Wilms and Jason Willott just stopped on the backstretch, letting them get that sorted out. I can't say I blame them, because what other route were you going to take through that? If we have a second, could we maybe see the onboard from Duncan O'Connor? It might be a tall request, given that we're probably getting back to green sooner rather than later, but he found a way to slide through that whole mess, and I'm thoroughly impressed by it.
Yeah, I'm even looking at. I'm surprised that DeLong's even out there. He took a heavy hit. I mean, it does not look like that machine is happy, so he might be pulling it and calling it night. But man, that was a crazy crack.
That was crazy. But it does look like the pace car's peeling off here. So the top 5 or 6 cars are going to remain unchanged. But from 6th on back, everything has flipped on its head. Drew Jawad, Tim Robb, row 1. Clampitt and Alif, row 2. Williams and the season 8 winner here, Clint Halterman, on the outside of row 3, finally getting his way into the top 10, trying to defend his race win from the summer. But the green flag's back in the air. Drew Jawad rockets down into the dog leg, and he's got a whole host of cars, both together and broken, chasing him down into the corner.
That inside lane must be so powerful, because the fact that Jawad already has a 0.3 second gap is like, yeah, that inside lane, like you're saying, is super powerful.
Yeah, I mean, with no one to stop you from immediately diving into the dog leg the moment you hit the corner, that really helps out for the inside lane. But the other part of it is that the restart zone is in a corner, so that outside line by default has a longer stretch to go. Oh, and the caution's out again. Yellow flag back in the air here at Phoenix on lap 73. We'll have to see what happened. It was not toward the front of the field. We were keeping an eye on that, and that seemed to have gone pretty smoothly. So don't know if it was the big one or not. I don't think so. I can't imagine we could have after the amount of cars that were caught up in the last one.
That's it. I'm going to be very curious to see what caused this, and I'm going to be even more curious to see just maybe the end of some cars' nights is if it's truly a big crash. This might turn into like a 20-car race if this keeps up.
So let's take a look here at the replay. Let's see what happened to bring out the caution on lap 73. So we're looking a little farther in the field. We're on board with, I think that's Jonathan Egge from Robert Morris. Gets a little loose, able to catch it for a moment. Oh, but then just loses it on the recorrection, makes contact with Willott. Nordberg into the wall, the O2 of Egge into the wall. Looks like they may have been the only 3, though. So Willott, Nordberg, and Jonathan Egge involved there. Just the O2 getting a little loose. And then as he tried correcting it, a little bit of contact with the 76 in a vulnerable spot, and they both go around.
Yeah, I think everyone got pretty fortunate on this. Just unfortunate, restarting those tires just didn't work out. But Fortunately, there's only 2 cars, and we're still hopefully racing with a decent size field.
For sure. So Drew Jawa there looked really strong on that restart, and I think that confirms, if anything else, that inside line, if you are leading to the green, that is the place to be. It is really tough to hold on to the battle on the outside. The only time we've seen the leader not retain position going into the backstretch was actually Tim Robb losing out to Drew Jawa from third because he was also on the inside line. So it's almost as if you don't want to be on the outside at all if you can help it. Obviously, with iRacing, there is no choose cone, so you're stuck. If you're in an even position, you're on the outside. Odd position, you're on the inside. But if you can help it, you definitely want to get to the inside as quick as possible, I feel like, because that seems to be where the speed is on these restarts.
I mean, we've seen that, and it's not just Logan Clampitt. It wasn't just Tim Robb. It was just Drew. It was all of them are getting that inside line and getting a very, very solid start, and it just doesn't seem beatable. So, like you were saying, it's important to get down there if you can, because you're instantly going to get a nice gap.
So, with the lights still on, the pace car here, I believe we'll probably have one more lap to the green. 3 different leaders so far at Phoenix. Logan Clampitt led the opening 60 laps or so, maybe opening 59. Tim Robb took the lead on lap 60. As you see, a couple of cars there were getting some damage repaired on pit road from the previous wreck. But then Tim Robb led for about 6 or 7 laps, and since then it has been Drew Jawa up into the lead. Both Clampitt and Jawa have wins this season. Robb's still looking for his first of this year, but has won before in the CIL. So, and then you have Muhammad Alif in fourth, who's won at Phoenix twice and has won a number of CIL events. So, a lot of winning pedigree up in these front 2 rows right now as we're about to go green.
I'm just hopeful that maybe Logan Clampitt can find something in that car to keep battling Drew up front. But even looks like I'll be curious to watch that second row battle between Tim Robb and Alif, because that's going to be hopefully as good as this front battle as we're getting ready to turn the final corner.
Pace car is off. Here come the leaders rolling through turns 3 and 4. They are nearing the Geico restart zone. Green flag is up in the air. Here we go once again to 3 with another good launch down to the dogleg. Logan Clampitt will drop right back on behind in second. And now Tim Robb trying to hold off both Williams and Alif for third. That was getting really narrow, getting pushed up the hill a little bit there is Robb. Alif tried going through the middle, couldn't get it done. Williams, the big winner in that exchange, the Clemson driver, now up to third.
And like we were talking, it does look like that inside lane is where to be, because if you watch, Clampitt did kind of back off a little bit, but is right on top of Drew. So it's everything tonight, apparently.
That it does seem to be. So, right now, lap 78, soon to be lap 79. Drew Jawa in the lead. Logan Clampitt second, with Drew Williams up to third. Tim Robb and Muhammad Alif rounding out your top 5. Couple of other names in the top 10 that you don't get to see as often, including Michael Sidor and Dylan Godinez. Nathan Inman having a great day there for Clemson in 10th. After a rough start to this season. But up front right now, Logan Clampitt has not let the 3 from Chattahoochee Tech get away. He is still hanging on to the back bumper. And speaking of the back bumper, Tim Robb is utilizing all of Drew Williams' back bumper, trying to find his way back into third place here. The front of his car was all over the back of Williams going through 1 and 2.
I'm surprised that Netcode didn't kick in there, the way he was all over that back bumper. But, got to get drafted. And these guys are sticking up front as they're breaking away a little bit. But this battle for third place is really sticking up with that battle in front. So hopefully these guys can find that pace and catch up and maybe have a good battle for first.
Speaking of battling just behind them, here goes Alif to the inside of Robb. This is the battle for fourth. The Ball State driver on the inside, the American University driver on the outside. Going into the dog leg now, both of them back on track, no problem. Robb able to hold on to the position for now, but the pressure is not done yet. Meanwhile, back up front, you see Logan Clampitt is now breathing down the back of the neck of Drew Jawa. I have a feeling that he might make his move sooner rather than later, and Jawa just trying to do anything to hold it off.
Well, even behind there, the Alif and And Rob Battle, you got Hilterman right on top of them even. This has just been fantastic restart action.
Here they go back again into the corner. Looks like Tim Robb able to get a little bit of separation from the two cars behind him. Drew Williams in a little bit of his own world at the moment between the first two cars and then 4th through 6th. But up front, Logan Clampitt still right on the back bumper. You can see on the bottom right of your screen, that is off the back of Drew Jawa's car. You can see how close that gap is at any given point in time, especially as they dive into the corner here. Clampitt getting all the way down to the yellow line. Jawa just a little bit off it, maybe a half lane off the bottom line. As they make their way back off the corner, all of a sudden, it looked like Drew Williams might be onto the scene now a little bit here as they make their way into 3.
Yeah, so I was even noticing that Drew may have just had a good corner, and I'll be curious going into dogleg who gets advantage of, because these guys are basically standing on each other. So, that dogleg might be the defining factor. And now we're catching up to lap traffic. So how is that going to play into all of this?
Yeah, that could certainly throw a wrench in the plans of Drew Jawa here. He's doing a lot just to keep things behind him right now. Might be harder to do that when there's traffic out in front of him as well. As they dive into the corner once again, it'll be Jawa, Clampitt, Williams, Robin Alif as they make their way off the corner. And I tell you what, I think this is as good a time as any. Let's turn off the mics for a second. Let's crank it up and let's hear these big next-gen engines roar around Phoenix Raceway. All right, man, those engines are just a thing of beauty to listen to. While we were gone, not much has changed up front. It is still Drew Jawa from Chattahoochee Technical holding on to the lead. He really has not gotten much separation, though, from Logan Clampitt. The gap only 2/10 at the moment, but it feels like even less than that when you see them actually on track. It's probably only a car length and a half, maybe 2 at the most. Drew Williams still holding on in third there for Clemson, with Tim Robb and Muhammad Alif rounding out your top 5. Halterman, Godinez, Duncan O'Connor, Brandon Schulenberger, and Michael Seidor currently the top 10 here. So some faces we were expecting to see up front in this one, plus a couple of surprise additions rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's been just good endurance racing at this point. That's you kind of got to lock in and, driving it. Nope, that's just the dog leg. I was like, so you're going for the pits? But no, but you just kind of have to focus on driving right now and making sure you don't eat your tires up, as we are coming to that point.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these drivers, I believe, would have come down pit road probably around lap 53, which means they probably got about 40 laps on these tires, a good 25 to 30 of which have been under green flag conditions. So they're definitely starting to feel the wear and tear of these things.
That's it. I'll be
and
curious.
I imagine they'll have to come down pit road at least one more time before this race is all said and done. I do not believe anyone who came down on lap 53 would have enough fuel to make it to the end. And if this race stays green, we'd have to look at green flag pit stops, much like we did a week ago at Kentucky, where that really threw the race on its head. And that was where Clampitt shined, was he pulled the better strategy on pit road against Matt Morton. He brought it down real early, and that ended up being the deciding factor. So we'll see if he's able to go 2 for 2 on that, if it does come to green flag pit stops. But with the way this race has gone, man, you never know. I mean, a caution could loom literally anywhere, as we've seen so far tonight.
What Nick, you were speaking about, I'm going to be very curious to see of those top 4 or 5 people that have been battling. I'm going to be curious to see who the first one to jump is, because the rest of the pack's going to follow.
Yeah, it just takes one to kick off the cycle before everyone says, maybe I should also do that. And sometimes it can be a real snowball effect. It's just a matter of whenever someone decides to pull the trigger and bring it down pit road. Right now, we're doing a little split screen action on the top side of your screen there. That is UNC Charlotte's Clinton Halterman on the back bumper of Muhammad Alif. The battle for 5th here. Halterman, the winner of this race in the summer of 2023 during Season 8. Muhammad Alif, the winner of Fall 22 and Spring 23, so Season 6 and 7. So the 12 and the 07 responsible for each of the last 3 CIL victories at Phoenix. Right now, both having a pretty solid day in 5th and 6th, but I'm sure they both would like to get a little bit higher up in the standings here as they try to make their way to the inside of Tim Robb. That almost got really dicey. Meanwhile, on the bottom of your screen here, you're looking out the back bumper of one of our alumni cars, watching the battle between Major Monsivice and Jacob Wiest. That battle is a little farther back in the pack here, the 600 from UNC Charlotte and the 041 from Texas A&M International. Oh, he spins! Monsivice sideways in the dog leg. Sliding back up, might stay off the racing surface, and due to iRacing saying that is not the racing surface, I do not believe that's going to bring out a caution. So the 041 might have to either bring it down pit road or just get back up to speed here through turns 1 and 2. There's a couple of cars right where they want to rejoin, able to get back on track, no problem. Jonathan Eggy, Austin DeLong going high to get out of the way of the 041 there. We were just watching that battle there between Texas A&M and UNC Charlotte, and the 041 just completely lost the back end in the dog leg.
And right there, the age of the tires are kicking in. So I'm going to be very curious to see, are we going to start seeing more little mistakes like that? Just because the tires are going, and I did get the word. Let's see what happened on the replay.
So you see the 041 to the inside here. Yeah, just the moment they hit the dog leg, that car wasn't square with the flat part of the track. The back end kicked around and sliding through the infield, or well, what would be the infield if there was grass there, but just sliding through the dog leg. So the battle will continue for the Texas A&M International driver, but definitely farther back in the field than they would like to be. It has admittedly been a tough night for Monsivice, who's been caught up in a couple of incidents. And now with that self-spin that does not bring out a caution, it's going to put them in a bigger hole than they were previously. Meanwhile, looking up here, I mean, this is 3rd through 6th. You could throw a blanket and cover all 4 of these guys. Alif to the inside of Williams, trying to battle for 3rd. Meanwhile, Halterman to the inside of Robb for 5th. How is this going to shake out?
And these guys are like almost just like what our tires are still battling, and even after everything, and they're still just driving like nothing happened.
Oh, contact there between Williams and Alif. They're in the wall. The 23 of Andrew Williams, the 12 of Muhammad Alif, and that's going to bring out the caution here on lap 103 as the Ball State machine is facing the wrong direction in the middle of the corner.
I think right there is that chance for Logan to get in and get fresh tires and get new fuel, and he might have the easy victory because of this flag now.
Heavy contact there for the 23. That tire definitely not facing the right direction. I know the 12s also got heavy damage. I mean, that was a fierce battle for third that went exactly the way you don't want it for either driver. I mean, that's going to kill both of their days and probably really affect their points haul that they were shaping up to get because they were running so well to that point. But now it looks like heavy damage for the 23 might end his day. Heavy damage for the 12 might end his as well. But here comes everyone down pit road on lap 104. Let's take a look at a couple of these pit stops from the leaders.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. It looks like this 23's nights might be over, but I mean, there was some very, very good racing, and it does look like the call I made that it does look like Clampitt is going in to get, fresh tires and fresh fuel.
Yeah, you see Clampitt and Jawab back-to-back boxes here. This will be a critical race off pit road. Looks like they both got into the box cleanly. The 44 up on the jacks just a hair faster than the 3. If this continues here, I'd imagine the 44 would win the race off pit road. Here comes Halterman trying to lead the charge past him.
Ooh.
You see cars rolling off pit road here. Not sure who won the race off pit road necessarily. Trying to look ahead. I mean, from this distance, actually, it's really hard to tell. It looks really like it'll be Clampitt. Tim Robb actually gets off second. So fresh tires on that 5 machine could come in clutch. We know he's a really, really strong short-run car. Maybe able to get something done here now on the outside of row 1. Drew Jawa drops back to 3rd.
That's unfortunate, but you know what? If you can have a good inside lane, you can get that time back, and sometimes you just got to take risk, and especially at the yellow flag, fortunate for the top 5 that they were able to get, basically free pit stop and not lose much.
Also worth noting here, I'm looking at the next 2 cars off pit road. Clint Halterman gets a position, and Duncan O'Connor with a big gain. The Nova Scotia Community College driver going to be the 5th car off pit lane. Let's take a look at the replay here and see what happened. So you see Alif on the inside, Williams on the outside, and as they come back up the track, well, it looks like everything's fine and dandy through there, and then the 23 goes to turn, the 12 moves up, and can't do that.
No, you can't. You can't fill one space with 2 cars, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if Drew's on track, but that car did not look happy. So who knows if that may be the end of this night? It does look like Alif is going to be okay, but that was still quite the collision.
Yeah, the iRacing visual damage model doesn't look too bad on the 12. Looks absolutely horrendous on the 23. I mean, there is no right front to that car, and that wheel's popped up toward the sky. So I do believe the Clemson driver's day might be done.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. He had a great day, though, unfortunately. Just sucks that it ends that way.
So lights are out on the pace car. Here comes the field to group up behind it for the restart. It'll be Clampitt and Tim Robb, row 1. Drew Jawa, Clint Halterman, row 2. Duncan O'Connor, as well as the 808 of Dylan Godinez in row 3. The 808 bouncing back from falling back a little bit earlier on. So a good run going here for the Penn College Technology driver, currently hanging in 6th. And definitely within striking distance with the way people have been running. You never know who could blink and make a mistake here. But Clampitt back to that inside of the first row could be a really dangerous recipe for the rest of the field.
I've been saying every time I've been in the booth, it's not half of racing on ovals is just being able to survive. Like I said, the 808's up there. He's not normally up there. He's just been able to avoid wrecks and be smart. And here we go. Barney's got the green flag, and we're back into green flag racing.
Yeah, here we go once again. Clampitt with a really good launch, gets several car lengths of separation from Jawa. Tim Robb really did not get a good restart there. He'll fall back to 3rd and is now trying to hold off Halterman for 4th. Meanwhile, looking back through the field, Schulenberger and Godinez battling hard for 6th. You see the Wingate machine diving in on the inside of the 808. That is Schulenberger on the inside. Godinez on the outside with Kaler right behind them. And Jake Cummings, who despite the nightmare of a race he had at the start, that second Wingate car also in the top 10 here. So right now, Wingate University looking pretty strong with cars running 7th and 10th.
Yeah, that's it. These guys have fresh tires, so they're going to be... Oh, what happened there?
Duncan O'Connor is spinning on the backstretch. Everyone's scattering to avoid. There was even more smoke behind him from an unrelated incident. Looks like the Nova Scotia Community College driver is going to keep it moving in one piece, but the caution has come out nonetheless. Might have been for O'Connor, might have been for the incident farther back.
Yeah, that's I think
from multiple points.
Yeah, and I wonder again, these fresh tires, have they just not gotten up to warmth? Because he looked like he almost saved it, but unfortunately into the wall he went.
Yeah, that was a tough break there, especially because he had done such a good job putting himself in position to be running inside the top 6. He had such a clean day going to that point. But now Duncan O'Connor is falling back just a little bit here. He's currently scored 8th. But let's take a look at the replay and see if it was the 34 that triggered the caution or something farther back in the field.
Let's see. Did he get tapped?
Nah, just it looks like it might have been a little farther back. It was definitely O'Connor going sideways, but no contact there. It might have been Michael Sidor in the 15. So it might have been one of those Penn Collegiate Technology cars a little farther back. But there was definitely a car sideways at the exit of the turn 2 while we were watching Duncan O'Connor get really loose off the corner, just carried a little too much speed on corner exit.
Yeah, it's it. Cold tires don't add up very well, especially in restarts like that. And that's a bit, again, I almost wondered, did he maybe get a little bit of net code as much as it was spinning his tires? But, it does look like that car is okay. It may not be the best driving condition, but it definitely looks like it can be out there. So I think he may have just gotten away with one a little bit.
That he did, especially because he saved it and no one else collected him. I mean, we've seen a couple times tonight a driver try and save it, about to do so, and then gets collected. So lucky for Duncan O'Connor there. You can see the battle scars on the outside of that 34, but it does seem to be that Michael Sidor was where the caution actually originated. Let's take a look at the replay here and see what happened to the Penn College Technology driver.
Let's see.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Jake Cummings down way onto the apron. And then as he's coming back on track, Sidor just loses it coming off the corner, trying to get away from it. And then heavy contact there with Cummings. Looks like Jonathan Egge might have been in there as well. Just a couple of drivers who were in a tough spot there.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. A lot of these incidents just seem like you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And again, these poor guys just kind of were not in the right situation.
And I mean, that can absolutely happen at a track as narrow as Phoenix. Sorry, that was not Jonathan Egge. That was Cale Davidson in the 2 who got pinched up into the wall. Egge's the 0-2. Cale Davidson got pinched up there at the end of that. But not much to your point, Keith. I mean, this track is so narrow. Sometimes it just takes one car being sideways, and all of a sudden the width of the track is basically cut in half if one of those cars goes around.
Yeah, that's it. I'd be curious to see. I just looked at how much time's left in this session. I'll be even curious to see if we get this full race, because there's about half an hour left. And if we keep getting cautions like this, we might run out of time.
It's certainly something to keep on the horizon here. Should this race go green the rest of the way, I mean, we'd be looking at about 20 minutes of green flag racing. And we've seen them run a stint that long multiple times under green. But we've also seen how cautions breed cautions so far tonight at Phoenix. So definitely something to keep an eye on, but maybe not a major factor just yet, but maybe something lingering in the back of the mind of a couple of the drivers, maybe even like deeper into the field, maybe thinking, if I can just get myself up there by the time if the timer starts getting a little iffy, you might be able to walk away stealing a bit of an extra bit of points. But pace car is peeled off. Green flag back in the air once again, racing at Phoenix, hopefully for the final restart of the night.
Yeah, hopefully that's it. And, Logan Clampitt, that inside line is showing its, head again. He got a great start, and even looks like Drew may have gotten a decent restart in that lower end.
Yeah, Joao now to the outside. Tim Robb on the inside here. That was the battle for second. Looks like Joao will be able to pull away for a moment as Clint Halterman now lunging to the outside of Robb. He's looking to take away the third position there. The UNC Charlotte driver not able to get it done that time, now diving deep onto the dogleg, moving back up to the inside of Robb as they go into one. Robb trying to roll that outside and get a nose to the corner of Drew Jawat. Not going to be able to do it this time around, but he will be able to get some momentum coming toward the back bumper. Looks like Halterman also got a little bit loose behind him as well. Definitely a lot of cars really pushing it right now.
Yeah, it's like Tim Robb and Halterman almost look like they're battling back there a little bit too, and getting those tires fired up is half the battle right now, and once you lock in, that's what you really think about it.
Right now, also in the top 5, Dylan Godinez hanging around there, watching all this unfold in front of him, trying to find a way past Clint Halterman here. He's separating a couple of Niner Esport teammates in Clint Halterman and Jared Kaler, who's got Brandon Schulenberger all over the back of him. Also, if folks remember, back around lap 7 or so, Tim Moore took an absolutely wicked collision through the dogleg. That Manhattanville College car has somehow rebounded and is now back up into the 8th position. That 074 has been resilient, if nothing else, tonight.
Yeah. We just got some word that apparently Michael Seidor was unfortunately disqualified for this evening's race. That's unfortunate end, but like you were saying, that Timothy Moore has had an incredible race. He's just kind of got the damage repaired and is just chugging along and is in the points now, which is huge in the championship.
Yeah, he's rebounded in a big way here tonight, especially for his alumni title hope aspirations. We have not seen much of Colin Kolpa tonight, so this has been a really impressive drive from the Manhattanville College driver. Now looking to the inside maybe was Tim Robb. He got a good run through the dog leg. Going to have to check up a little bit going into turn 1, but here goes the 3 sliding up a lane. Could leave a bit of an opening for Robb as they make their way down the backstretch. Nothing going yet, but only 1 car length separating those 2 cars as they make their way back into 3.
Yeah, and these small gaps like this could lead to anything, so you just got to keep chugging. And it does look like Clampitt's got this pretty much sealed in the bag up front, but Tim Robb and Drew Jura are just still going back and forth and giving us some entertaining racing this evening.
Right now, quite the battle going on. We're going to do a little split screen action here up top. It'll still be the battle between Jawat and Tim Robb for second. A little farther back, though, we're going to keep an eye on something going on a little deeper in the top 10. This is 6th through 9th, all in a line. Jared Kaler from UNC Charlotte, Wingate's Brandon Schulenberger, Nova Scotia Community College's Duncan O'Connor, and then Tim Moore of Manhattanville College in this pack as well. As now Schulenberger looking to the inside of Kaler. Little bit of contact there between the 7 and the 1 through 1 and 2. Kaler going to hold on to the position for now, but boy, does Schulenberger look hungry to take away 6th.
Yeah, and I'm honestly surprised that wasn't netcode. They almost look like they were that close that iRacing could have thought they tapped, but that was some good, close racing, and I think you got some of that nice side draft to go into the dogleg there. That wasn't the dogleg, I'm sorry, that was last lap, or Turner.
No, you were absolutely correct. That was indeed the dogleg. Looking up top, though, Tim Robb now on the inside of Jawad. The battle for second could go in favor of the American University driver. Yes, it will. Robb now up into second ahead of Jawad. They are 7/10 behind Logan Clampitt, though, but now they are nose to tail as opposed to battling side by side, and this could allow them to start trying to track down the leader as Clampitt might be nearing some lap traffic ahead of him.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting. Lap traffic in past CIL, even this year, has been interesting to deal with. There's been a couple of collisions, unfortunately, so let's just hope Clampitt can get around safely.
Yeah, it's definitely been a mixed bag so far through the opening 5.5 races of the season. Make it maybe 5 2/3 as we're nearing the end of this one. About 27 laps to go here from Phoenix as they're making their way around Jason Wallet there, the 76 from Drexel on the that top screen there. Everyone gets around him pretty effectively. As we look down on the bottom screen, we find Wallet's teammate Timothy Wilms. He's currently battling with the 888 of Anthony Burrell. So those two cars doing battle. That is the battle for 14th. So definitely. Oh, sorry, Andrew Burrell, not Anthony. I don't know where I got Anthony from, to be honest with you. Andrew Burrell. I've gotten that right every race this season until right now. So apologies there, Andrew. But yeah, Burrell and Timothy Williams were battling for 14th there. It looks like Burrell's going to be able to pull ahead by a little bit there going in the 1 and 2.
Yeah, that front pack just definitely looks like it's starting to, spin out a little bit. But it does look like Logan and Timothy are both kind of getting close to each other. So that's going to become an interesting battle in a couple laps if Tim can continue to, cut his lap times down. Because he does look like he's going a little quicker on the timing sheets I'm looking at.
Stockner on that low screen now to the inside of Tim Moore. This is the battle for 9th. A couple of alumni squaring off side by side. Clemson on the bottom, Manhattanville College on the top. Stockner down all the way to the yellow line. Oh. Tim Moore going to run a couple lanes off that bottom line as they make their way to the stripe. Looks like Stockner has it for the moment, but that definitely is not a secured position yet as they make their way to 1. Now he's able to close off the 074. Nick Stockner up to 9th.
Yeah, it's still impressive that Timothy Moore is still in this race with how much he's dealt, but he is still fighting for those points, and any point counts at this point in the season. Absolutely.
You see Tim Moore there holding on to 10th, and he's got another car who's been battling some adversity closing in behind him now. That was the 041 of Major Monsivice in 11th, trying to track down Tim Moore. So a couple of cars who have been through a battle or two tonight. Looking back up front, though, Tim Robb has cut into the deficit just a little bit. It was 7/10 when he took second, now down to only 5/10. Not making major strides toward Clampitt, but he's definitely not letting the Cal State Fullerton driver get away from him here with only 22 laps to go.
Yeah, this will definitely be very interesting because it does look like our time is ticking down a little bit. But as long as they keep clean green flag racing, this should come down to the last laps. But man, these are becoming these, late battles where everything matters at this point. You got to be smart and you got to take your opportunities where you get them.
Speaking of taking opportunities, here goes Schulenberger to the inside of Kaler on that bottom screen. The 7 from Wingate finally found an opening, dived down on the former CCS champ. Moving back up in the turn 1 and 2, can Schulenberger complete the pass through this corner? Trying to slide up, maybe able to do so. New runner in 6th is Brandon Schulenberger after quite the war there with Jared Kaler. Kaler, though, definitely can't rest because here comes Duncan O'Connor onto his back bumper now. And that 34 car has found a lot of speed despite the battles it's had tonight. So I would say 8th, 10th, and 11th have all really been through quite the war this evening and have still found a way to really make it work and get some solid points if this result holds.
Yeah, and if this, it really comes down to the championship long term right now. And that's what, you can't always, when you crash like that, you can't always give up because, one race you got a bad race, the next race you could win. And that could be the matter of making the playoffs or not.
It really can. And the CCS does have a couple of drop weeks, but you can't afford to have too many weeks where things don't go your way because the drop weeks can only carry you so far. And so, there's going to be a lot of drivers who might consider this to be their drop week. I'm looking at the timing table. Of our 38 drivers, only 19 remain on the lead lap. That is only half the field here. And as we're nearing the stripe to get to 17 laps to go, I mean, this is a situation where if you're on the lead lap, you're just going to do everything you can to stay out of that, imagine.
Yeah, and even you look at Logan Clampitt, he's just been cruising along. And like you were saying, you just got to just be focused. You're on that lead lap and you want to get those points, but at what risk is it worth taking?
Yeah, and that is the balance that you need to find here. But in the past couple laps here, Logan Clampitt has absolutely driven away from Tim Robb. That gap has opened up to 1.3 seconds. Robb is still holding on the second over Jawa. But it's certainly opened up for the leader. Right now, it looks like it could be smooth sailing, barring a late caution or something happening with lap traffic. But the road seems clear, at least for the next couple laps. Looking down to this bottom side, though, we are on board with Nick Stockner, who's running 9th. And you can see how this top 10 now, as this race has continued, they're just starting to separate just enough where it's getting really tough to get a run on the car in front of you.
Yeah, and I mean, the nice thing is they don't have to worry about tires. They shouldn't have to worry about fuel. So this should just be, full sending and just hitting your points. And maybe getting some of that nice draft that you can take opportunities to overtake, as we're seeing right there that front battle between Drew and Tim Robb spewing up a little bit.
Yeah, Juwan out to the inside here, going into turn 3, trying to reclaim second from the American University driver. Meanwhile, Clint Halterman just behind him, laying in wait, seeing how this is going to shape up. But Rob and Joa side by side through the dog leg, now back into turn 1. American University on the outside, Chattahoochee Technical on the inside. Joa's got a nose ahead, but he's not clear yet. Still side by side going down the backstretch.
Yeah, I mean, they're still battling, and it's going to keep going. I think this might, if as long as they keep driving safe, I could see this going the rest of the race, because these guys have been battling all night with each other, so why not keep it going till the end?
And as this battle continues, it's going to give an opportunity for Clint Halterman maybe to get a little more onto the scene and try and take away a podium position from one of these guys. But more importantly, for the grand scheme of things, this battle has let Logan Clampitt absolutely check out. 2.6 seconds now, the gap between first and second. Joa has finally cleared Tim Robb for second. He's going to start trying to chase down the leader, but with only 13 laps left in this race, I would say it's probably too little too late, barring a late caution.
Yeah, and especially with about 5 minutes left in the session, like you said, it's just a matter at this point of just staying focused and, making out of this race alive.
Coming to the stripe here, it will be only 12 laps to go. Cal State Fullerton's Logan Clampitt currently leading. Drew Joa from Chattahoochee Technical second. American University's Tim Robb is third, with Niner Esports' Clint Halterman and Penn College of Technology's Dylan Godinez in fifth. Godinez is having a great night so far if he's able to hold on to this top 5 finish. He's been up and down the order, but that 808 has really grinded for this top 5 if he can hold on.
Yeah, that'd be a great, position for him. I'm not sure if he's been up this high this season, so that'd be a great points grab for both him and his team.
Yeah, especially in the scheme of things where both student and alumni points are distributed separately. There is one overall category in points, but there's also specific student and alumni points. And as it stands, Dylan Godinez would be the alumni winner if this continues. Only 10 laps to go coming to the line this time by, it'll be Clampitt, almost 2.8 seconds ahead of Drew Joa.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, even Drew is starting to get a little bit of an advantage on Tim Robb. So I think those guys have maybe checked out, but the back of this field is still having some hard racing, which is awesome.
Yeah, looking through the timing tower here, it looks like things have really started to spread out. I think a lot of these drivers are just trying to make it to the end. There's not a ton of folks within this top 10 really in striking distance of each other. Halterman trying to chase down Tim Robb is about the closest battle we've got at the moment, where he's still about 2 car lengths clear of the American University driver, maybe make it 3. Navigating a little bit of lap traffic there. Doesn't seem to be affecting them too much, though, as they make their way back into 1.
Yeah, and like you said, they're just kind of trying to make it out of this, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to save their tires and fuel for a last lap lunge and hopefully get that extra position that they've been battling for.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the tower here. This could be a really good points day for a few drivers, particularly the alumni drivers. Dylan Godinez in great shape to get the alumni win. Nick Stockner could have a great night for himself here, being the second finishing alumni driver in rolling 9th overall. And then Tim Moore has been up and down the grid with that caution early on, but he has really battled to hold on to 10th if he's able to keep that position as they run. But now Halterman here trying to battle his teammate in Jacob Wiest. Those two drivers not on the same lap. Wiest is at least a lap down here, so not a fight for position, but definitely going to hold up the 07 a little bit from trying to track down Tim Robb. Next time to the stripe, it'll be 6 laps to go.
Well, and I almost wonder, are they battling, or are they trying to give each other good draft to catch up? It almost looks like they were kind of, staying on top of each other.
This is a battle for position, though. This is the battle for 10th. 2 cars that are definitely not performing optimally right now. You've got Tim Moore from Manhattanville College, Major Monsivice from Texas A&M International. Both of these cars have been through hell and back to so far this evening, but right now, Montsevay still trying to will that Toyota Camry into the top 10, was on the back bumper of Tim Moore a lap ago, now falling back to 2 car lengths behind, trying to track down the 074 once again. Neither of those cars can be handling too great right now.
Now, I don't think any of these cars really that have been in that backpack are, just because they've been, like you said, through hell and back. But you know what? You got to just keep driving what you got. You can only do so much. And if you can keep driving, get those points, you got next week to look forward to.
Absolutely. They're both in position for a good finish here, but they just got to find a way to make it to the end. That becomes the big question. Or can Montsevay pull the move and steal the top 10 away from the Manhattanville College driver? Oh, there's a car sideways on the backstretch.
Ooh,
Who is that?
Who is that?
That is the 0-2 of Jonathan Eggy. Looks like he's going to get that car forward. Definitely not handling good, though. Looks like the green is going to stay in the air. Fortunately, that could have been catastrophic as a late race restart. Looks like, though, he'll be able to keep muscling that thing around. Definitely not at full speed, though. But definitely a tough break there for the Robert Morris driver. And with now only 4 laps to go, about to be 3, that was a tough break there for Drew Joie. That could have brought him right back to Logan Clampitt for a green-white checkered.
Well, I don't even know if it would have, because like I'm watching this time and watching.
Burl just drives through the 700. Deerkop goes around, he spins, and the caution is out.
And I
there
think
was
like
only 3 laps to go, and the 888 contact with the 700. We'll have to take a look at the replay to see if someone checked up. But I mean, from the live feed, in my initial gut reaction, it looked like the 888 just drove through the 700.
It did indeed, and Nick, you were saying that yellow flag. I think it just secured Logan Clampitt's win, and I think he had drove a great race, and Drew I think is also going to be very happy with that. But things shall be interesting, and that's what I can't wait to see that replay. Like you said, looked like he drove right through, so it'll be interesting.
Under normal circumstances, the CIL would do 1 attempt at a green-white checkered finish. However, if what I'm hearing is to be believed, I do think this might end on session time before it ends on a green-white checkered. That is not confirmed. That is just what I am hearing, though. So we will let you know either way. But let's take a look at the replay here between Burl and Deerkop. I mean, that was alumni on alumni violence.
Yes.
The 888 carrying a head of steam, moves up a lane, contact with the 700 there. I mean, yeah, the 888 was definitely carrying more speed, but you saw him kind of wash up a lane there going through turns 3 and 4. So I can't imagine Deerkop's going to be particularly happy about that one.
Not at all. That did, like you said, it looked like he drove right into him. Yes, this will be very interesting to see how the admins handle this, because it does look like we are at that. We have 2 laps to go, but there is time left in the session. So are we going to go GWC, or are the admins going to call this race? So it's going to be very interesting to see. Like you were saying, time is cutting close.
Yeah, and the admins cannot extend the time in a race session to fit in a green-white checkered. That timer is a hard stop by iRacing. So if that timer expires, they'd run 1 more lap, and then that would be the end of the race. So we're just waiting to hear word from the stewards and the admin team to hear which way this is going to pan out. But if this does go to a green-white checkered, this could be a last gasp opportunity for Joie, Tim Robb, Clint Halterman, any of those guys in that top bunch who now have an opportunity to get to the back bumper of Logan Clampitt. If this does end on time, though, I mean, Clampitt picks up a hard-earned victory driving away from the field in the final stint.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to pull up the points here to see how much this could seriously help with Logan, overall standings. Just trying to look at the points here to see, how much does this help him?
I mean, it would give him a nice 40-point advantage there, and I know some of the cars ahead of him definitely have not had the most quality of days, so that could indeed be a big boost for him. He's already locked into the playoffs with the win. It's a big question of if he can make enough races this season to qualify. You need to attend at least 6 races to be eligible for the College Cup Series playoffs. And if he runs the rest of the season, I believe he will hit 6 exactly. So this is his third start of the season and could be his third win of the season if this result holds. Again, folks, still just waiting to hear officially if it's going to end on time or a green white checker. The lights are up on the pace car.
That's a good sign.
Maybe they are going to give it one more go. Not entirely sure, but we'll treat it as if it is until I hear otherwise.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed signals as well, but who knows? I mean, like you said, the lights went out, so that's a good sign. So are we gonna get a green white checkered, or are they just gonna race? We'll see in a minute. Like, we're here waiting for the admins.
In the case of a green white checkered, it'll be next flag ends the race. It'll be a 2-lap shootout to the finish. The checkered could end it, or the caution could end it. Here we go. Green white checkered time from Phoenix Raceway. Green flag in the air one more time. Into the restart zone. Clampitt goes, gets the launch, able to get a bit of separation. 2 laps from the end of this race.
Whoa, there was some contact right up there. I believe that...
That was Jawa sideways into the wall, losing a bunch of positions. Everyone washing up the track. It looked like someone just caught a tidal wave. This is somehow still green. Carnage behind him. The caution finally flies. Clampitt's going to pick up the victory, and I believe the podium could be Tim Robb and Dylan Godinez, because that was chaos on them. Everyone just completely forgot how to brake going into turn 1.
Yeah, so I think unfortunately Jura was maybe the one that started it, because I saw them lose it. But man, that was how you end a race like this. So I'm not gonna lie, that was, it's unfortunate, but with how many cautions we've had, why not end it on a big crash like that?
I will need to see the replay to see how that one shaped up, but I mean, it just looked like there was a bit of contact between Rob and Jawa. Jawa got loose, but was out of the way. I mean, no one ran him over, really. And then everyone got to the corner and just said, hey, what if I just kept laying on the gas? And it looked like everyone washed up. It looked like that wreck from Daytona last year in the Cup Series, where there was a bit of rain on the track and everyone just washed up the track. But the checkered flag is out, which means Cal State Fullerton's Logan Clampitt picks up his 3rd win of the season. Tim Robb, Clint Halterman. Is that the final podium at the time of caution?
About.
Clint Halterman will hold on to 3rd, Dylan Godinez 4th, and Nick Stockner 5th. The current timing tower, as you see it, is at least the accurate unofficial results. We'll be able to confirm post stewarding. But right now, Clampitt, Robb, and Halterman, the podium.
Yeah, that was very entertaining race. But you know what's going to be more entertaining? Watching how that collision started. So we have that replay. Yeah, just seeing. I think that was a very well-deserved win for Logan there. What do you think, Alex?
I'm just trying to figure out where Tim Robb went on the timing tower. Did something happen there with a potential incident count? And now Tim Robb has scored first. Logan Clampitt scored last. The timing table's having a bit of a tough time, so we won't be able to officially announce the result. I'm assuming Clampitt won. I can't imagine any reason.
Yeah.
But the rest of the field for the question mark. Let's take a look at the replay on the green-white checker here. Let's take a look at that again, because that was an absolute mess. I mean, look at this. They're just going 3 wide into the corner. Everyone lunging in. Deerkop drives through Moore. Moore slides up into O'Connor and Kaler. Monsivice around, as is Jawa and Wilms. Inman involved. Looks like Wiest is able to get under it. Spencer Brown collected heavily involved as well. I mean, just a whole host of cars that were running in the back half of the top 10. Just heavy contact. Tallman gets involved there. Looks like Jonathan Eggy gets turned by Inman at the last second. I mean, DeLong's around. Chaos, man. Chaos.
Yeah, it's again, you got to take those last second lunges, and unfortunately for a couple of these guys, it just didn't pan out. That's it. Yeah, I'm going to be really curious to see what's going on with these results too, like you were saying, because, Logan did lead that entire race, but I'm seeing the same thing, that Tim Robb is currently listed as first.
Not entirely sure what would have happened or what would have changed. Still waiting to hear officially on the final results of this race. I know there's a lot to sort through with the caution there, but we're going to try and figure out exactly what occurred. So we will bring that to you just as soon as we have it. But fast reactions, Keith. What was your thoughts on tonight's race from Phoenix before we even know kind of what happened at the end here?
I mean, this race was just it's a survival race. And I mean, you saw that. You saw the people that were at the top are the ones that survived. I mean, Logan basically dominated the full race because he was able to both, stay in the front, which most of the action was in the back. But like most of these weekends, it feels like it's been about who's up front and who survives.
Okay, so Logan Clampitt is indeed the winner, as we believed it to be. The timing tower had a bit of a glitch there, but the Cal State Fullerton driver does come home with the victory here tonight. Apparently, what had happened was when he passed the pace car due to celebration, the game freaked out and scored him last. But Clampitt is indeed the winner. Tim Robb will finish second, and Clint Halterman will round out your podium. So we will be able to talk to them in just a second. But now that we know the official podium, we can start requesting that they drop by the booth here.
Yeah, that's what it does look like. We do have third place waiting on us. You ready, Alex?
All righty, let's have an opportunity here to talk to Clint Halterman. He was our third place finisher this evening. Clint, congrats on the podium. What did you see through those last couple stints? It looked like everything was kind of falling apart at once out there.
Yeah, I don't know. My car was really bad at the end of that before the final caution. I was like sliding into the corners basically and sliding off. The tires were really bad. And then yeah, the final restart happened and I don't know, I saw the 5 and Drew make contact and I somehow got through it and then I tried to outbrake Dylan into the corner and I told myself before the final restart, I was like, okay, don't overdrive the corner because the car's going to get loose. And I overdrove the corner and got sideways, but fortunately the caution came out as soon as I got sideways. So somehow I got lucky there with the caution coming out when I was barely in third. But yeah, it was really tricky out there on the old tires. I was just barely hanging on.
Yeah, with all those yellow flags, that you had to have such a screwed up strategy. Was the strategy constantly evolving as them, or did you kind of have coming into this race knowing it was going to be a flag fest like it was?
I mean, yeah, I didn't really have much of a strategy to be honest, and then my strategy got thrown out the window when I made a stupid mistake on a restart. I got a drive-through for dipping below the yellow line before the finish. I was just kind of, I'll be honest, I was just kind of winging it the whole time, and that seems to be working out for me because somehow I ended up with a P3. But yeah, I wasn't sure totally how the car was going to handle. I noticed during practice that the car was getting really loose under braking, especially as the run got on longer. But you just got, I think, it's difficult to pass here. You just gotta be so aggressive on the restarts. That was I guess the only strategy I have is like just push it a little bit more on the restarts to try to gain a few more spots there. And yeah, and we had a few more longer runs than I thought we would get. So that was nice. But yeah, didn't really have much of a strategy. Just kind of went with the flow.
Well, hey, going with the flow netted you a podium and some pretty good points here tonight, Clint. Not able to necessarily defend your race win here from the summer, but back-to-back podiums here at Phoenix. So congrats on that. Any final thoughts or anyone you'd like to shout out here before we let you go on your way here tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to our sim driver Jared Kaler for giving me some pointers right before the session opened. He's been putting some work in back in the lab, gave me a few pointers, helped me get that P3. So shout out to him for helping me get this podium.
Well, congrats on the podium there, Clint. Hopefully we get to see you up again in the booth real soon. But you go on ahead and enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right. Thank you, guys. You too.
Alrighty here. Next up here, I'll just throw this question out here to the producer, Christian. Who would you like to bring in next? All right, coming in now, it is our second place finisher. It is Tim Robb from American University. Tim, congrats on the podium. What was it going to take tonight to get that one extra spot and take home the win?
I'm not too sure. Based on how the race was going, I felt like I was either equal to or maybe a tad better than Clampitt the first maybe 20 laps were run, and then after that, he was just a class of the field. So I think it was just a matter of how the race was going to shake out. But I'd like to just say it's good to be back on the podium, but it's extremely hard to race with all the damn crying that's going on this season. Like, I don't know who the hell the new guy is in the 3 car who's whining about racing the whole time and then goes and wrecks himself off my own door trying to blame me. But we're 13 laps to go and people want to cry about racing. That's what the problem is. And I guess if you want to whine about racing, that's the kind of crap that's going to happen to you.
Yeah, so I guess, in that case, what were you thinking in your head, with the fact that you had an incredible starter like Logan Clampitt in front of you? Like, what were you going through mentally? Just be like, I can get there.
My goal on the last restart was just to I was just going to try and time it as well as I could to leave with Clampitt, and I left kind of with him, not too well, and then I knew whoever was next to me was side by side with me, and I knew on the run before he kept pinching me really high through the dog leg while racing me, so I thought I would just run a high line through there, and he ended up driving into my door, and whoever happened to him. But then I got clear after that, and it's unfortunate the caution came out because I really would have liked to see how the last lap could have played out and if I could have made a run at Logan.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, not the way it was meant to be tonight, I suppose, but still a really strong run for you here tonight. Anyone you would like to shout out before we let you go on your way here this evening?
I'll shout out American University, obviously, Apollo Motorsports for helping me in that alliance. Shout out to all the competitors that show up and race and have a good time and don't cry. And I'd also like to shout out the stewards for making the 3 look like a joke when his protest fails later in the week.
Alrighty, well, thanks for joining us up here in the booth, Tim, and hopefully we get to see you again soon.
Thank you. See you guys soon.
Alrighty, that was second place finisher Tim Robb from American University, which now means we're going to be able to talk to our winner from the race this evening, the Cal State Fullerton driver Logan Clampitt, picking up wins in back-to-back weeks here. Logan, congrats on the victory. And what did you see out there with those final couple stints, especially coming to the green-white checker? Did you think anyone was going to try and run you the way the rest of the pack did there?
No. As long as I got good restarts, I was gonna be fine. That last caution, because I was sliding the rear tires quite a bit previous runs, I short-filled it. I don't think a whole lot of other people short-filled it, but I was super comfortable that last run until that caution came out with 2 to go.
Yeah, so I've been asking all the other drivers. I'm just curious, since you seem like you dominated tonight. Did you really have a set plan coming in? Knowing you were going to dominate this much? Because I know some of the drivers come in knowing tracks. Did you have that set plan that you're just going to kill it in the bleed, basically?
You never really know entering these races. I don't necessarily struggle at Phoenix, but it's not my best track. But obviously, racing Coke at every single track helps a lot because you have really good competition racing up against you. So that helps. And then just testing and putting in tons of laps, previous years, just kind of once you get out there and turn about like 20, 30 laps, you're kind of used to it again, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, that sort of experience really seemed to pay off this evening. Obviously, taking home the victory. You picked up the win at Kentucky last week as well. Things seem to be firing on all cylinders for you. Anyone you'd like to shout out before we let you go on your way this evening?
Yeah, once again, you guys for putting the show on and broadcasting, and obviously Titan Esports.
Alrighty. Well, congrats on the win again, Logan. Hopefully we get to see you up in the booth again soon, and enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, thank you.
All right, that was Logan Clampitt, who was our winner here this evening and also the student division winner. But now, the last interview we're going to have this evening currently scored fourth, although it was definitely close with Clint at the end there. Also being scored as the alumni winner this evening, it is Dylan Godinez from the Penn College of Technology. Dylan, I know it's really tight there at the moment between you and Clint Halterman for third, and the stewards will have to take a close look at that one. But regardless, you are indeed the alumni winner this evening. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling on top of the world, man. It was, definitely more of an upset kind of a race for me. I went into it not expecting to do too hot, and actually came out on top. I did pretty good here last year, and I'm hoping it ends in my favor. Maybe I'll pick up a third place finish. Who knows how it's going to stack up, but definitely a fun one.
So yeah, I've been asking all the other drivers, and the strategy really, I think, came in favor to you. You started off a little back there, and you just kind of battled through. Where was your mental throughout this race, starting from the farther back to getting up to possibly a podium?
Every time I get out here and I do this, I want to do it for the Penn College of Technology, do it for my teammates. It's really just trying to get to the front and just drive the car. If you overdrive it, you're going to wear yourself out, wear your stuff out, and it's not going to be worth it. So just keep your wits about you, just keep your head down, and that was really the whole goal, the whole race, avoiding all the wrecks and making it up in the top 5.
Yeah, and I mean, stay in the top 5 you did. Once you got there, you never looked back, and you end up pulling home a ton of points and will really narrow the gap on that the alumni standings there. So congrats on the alumni victory and the really good run tonight. Anyone you'd like to shout out here before we let you go on your way?
I want to shout out my family at home. Thanks everybody for watching. I want to shout out my teammates, Austin, Mikey, and Zach. It's great run for Penn College, great run for DG Motorsports. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like y'all were having a good time out there tonight, and it translated to some really good points. So congrats again on the alumni victory, and hopefully we'll get to see you in the booth again real soon. And enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Alrighty, and that was our alumni winner and tentatively 4th place finisher, Dylan Godinez from the Penn College of Technology. Lot to unpack at the end of that race as far as just the way it all shook out, and I'm sure there will be some drivers who will be thinking a lot about how things could have worked out differently here tonight. But one driver who's not going to question it, I'm sure, Logan Clampitt, who did pick up the victory here this evening.
Yeah, I'm going to be very curious to see how things shake out tonight, because I don't think we really know who truly got the podiums. But like you were saying, Logan Clampitt dominated this evening, so. It's just a matter of time, and we'll see what happens with points as we're, coming to that push for the playoffs.
That it is. It's all about the points every time we come out here and get. Obviously, the win, you definitely want to get it, but if you can't get the win, you got to settle for as many points as you can get. And everyone we talked to tonight, obviously, they got a fair points haul, but definitely a couple of drivers who got more than they maybe have bargained for tonight, just with the way that last caution shook out. So. Definitely a fun one, if nothing else. Chaotic, the word I would use for that race. There was a lot to, not necessarily a lot to unpack, but there was a lot happening in that race. I mean, you had so many different stages of it, from the caution heavy bit up front, and then you had kind of some green flag, like longer green flag runs through the middle of the race, and then just everything opening up again at the end of the race. It kind of went up and down kind of all evening.
No, honestly, I don't think I would have asked for a better race, because you were saying it's been up and down. We had a lot of green running, but we also had a lot of yellow, which, like I was asking, a lot of those guys had to either modify or they had to plan that it was going to be a lot of yellow running. And how can you really plan for that level of running? So that makes things interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even anything you can plan for. I feel like if you come into a race expecting there to be multiple green flag runs of like 40 to 50 laps in a 150 lap race, but then also like multiple times where you can't run more than 2 laps without a caution. I mean, that's really tough to mentally prepare for, because those are two very different skills to practice between your restarting and your tire wear over a long run.
Yeah, I agree. It's like Logan was saying. I mean, he's got an advantage because he is, running all the Coke series up. But a lot of these drivers in here, this is the only league they run. So, how do you practice? I mean, even on officials, how do you practice, running 40 stints, then a yellow flag, then doing another 40 laps? It's like, you can't. So you really have to be just on top of your game. And we're seeing, I bet, some of the best drivers, doing their best work here because they don't get to practice this much.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that showed a lot here tonight, just the way everything shook out. But with that being said, let's take a look at the unofficial final standings from tonight's Avondale 150 from Phoenix. Subject to change once the stewards review everything that happened in this race. But let's take a look here at the final rundown. So we do know that Logan Clampitt was the victor here tonight. Moved to the bottom of the table because he did pass the pace car when celebrating at the end of the race. But it was Logan Clampitt for Cal State Fullerton who won. Tim Robb was second from American, Clinton Halterman third from UNC Charlotte, with Dylan Godinez and Nick Stockner from Penn College of Technology and Clemson rounding out the top 5. A couple of teammates, 6th and 7th, in Brandon Schulenberger and Jake Cummings, both from Wingate University. Athena Leclerc rebounded from an earlier incident to finish 8th for St. Clair College. Jonathan Dierkop for the University of Central Florida finishes 9th. And our final finisher inside the top 10 tonight was Jared Kaler from UNC Charlotte. 11th was Duncan O'Connor from Nova Scotia Community College. 12th, R. Muhammad Ali from Ball State. 13th tonight, Andrew Burrell from Clemson University. 14th, Timothy Wilms from Drexel. Rounding out the top 15, it was Drew Jawa, who had a really good run until that last lap green-white checker where he made contact with Tim Robb, finishing 15th this evening. Nathan Inman, 16th for Clemson. Tim Moore's up-and-down day will finish in a 17th place finish for Manhattanville College. 18th, while saying it is Logan Clampitt there, it is Austin DeLong who finishes 18th for PCT. 19th is Major Monsivice. Now it's back on the correct sort of setup here from Texas A&M International University. 20th, Spencer Brown from UNC Charlotte. 21st, Jonathan Egge from Robert Morris University. 22nd, Zach Tallman from the Penn College of Technology. 23rd, Jacob Wiest from UNC Charlotte. Drexel's Jason Wallet will finish 24th tonight, and Alex Hallinar from Binghamton is 25th. NC State and Matthew Nordberg will bring it home 26th tonight, ahead of Cale Davidson and Ball State University in 27th. Drew Williams will bring it home 28th. He had a good run going early, but that late race contact with the Leaf will drop him to 28th, just ahead of Matt Morton from Ohio State, a rare off night for him, finishing 29th. Matt O'Brien from Michigan Tech will bring it home 30th. And the remaining finishers here, Sky Shrek from Oklahoma finishing 31st, Jake Hall from Clemson 32nd, Andrew Stagey from Ball State 33rd, Zarin Bartholomew 34th from St. Clair College, also from St. Clair, Tristan Leclerc finishing 35th, Michael Sidor from the Penn College of Technology finishing 36th, with a couple of cars who did not make the start of tonight's race, I believe Sean Campbell and Colin Kolpa. And with that basically is going to put a wrap on tonight's Avondale 150 from Phoenix. Keith, any final thoughts?
I think we got what we paid for. We got some good action and, maybe a little bit of confusion at the end. So we'll see how that irons out. But I think overall, what we paid for, it could have been more hectic, could have been less hectic. But overall, I think it was a great race. And it makes me super excited for what we have next week.
Yeah, speaking of coming up next week, looking ahead to the schedule, only 3 races remain on the College Cup Series schedule until we hit the playoffs. Next week, they head to the home of country music, Nashville Super Speedway, on the docket next here for the College Cup Series. They'll be participating in the Music City 200 and the third to last race of the regular season, and the second to last oval race of the regular season. So definitely going to be something to tune in for there. And if that is simply too far away for you to wait until the next time you get CIL action in your life. You have an opportunity to tune in this Wednesday for the Brazil Grand Prix for the Formula College World Championship. It is their 6th race of the season at Interlagos. So a couple of races to keep an eye out here. Same place, same time, same channel. Just the road race will be Wednesday nights here
Wednesday,
at 9. And the next over race, once again, Monday night at 9 p.m. this upcoming week, the 16th. So with that being said, I think that's going to conclude our coverage here of tonight's Avondale 150 from Phoenix Raceway. So on behalf of co-broadcaster Keith Brubaker, along with all of our production staff and all the admins here at the CIL, I've been Alex Gagnon. Thank you all for tuning in so very much, and we hope to see you Wednesday for Brazil and this upcoming Monday for Nashville Super Speedway. Until then, see you next time.